It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems. That things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Morpheus Cage, and here with a couple of stories to talk about. I don't have a whole lot, I'll admit that. So I will leave it open towards the end of the show to possibly open it up maybe for a little bit of discussion. If people have things that they want to talk about other than the stories that I bring up. Of course, we got a little bit to talk about with the whole Diddy trial. This is going into the third week of the Diddy trial, I want to say. I think day 9 in court just passed. I do want to talk a little bit about Trump tariffs and some of that stuff. I want to talk about the recent speech that Bibi Netanyahu had. Israeli staffers who were taken out. And let's see, I think I had something else that I want to bring up, but we'll get to that when that comes up. As you guys come into the room, say hello if you like. If not, please give a thumbs up. It definitely helps the show. And if you feel inclined to share the show, that definitely helps. If you're a new subscriber, thank you and welcome. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to get into one of my other stories, which this isn't one of the mainstream stories that are being talked about, but it is something that I want to talk about because I think it's something that could happen to any of us. And I just want to bring it up as more of a cautionary tale. So let me pull this first video up and share it with you all, whether you've heard of it or not, and we will go from there.
British professional boxer Georgia O'Connor has died. She was only 25.
Declaring your winner, Georgia O'Connor.
Georgia's death coming just months after she revealed she was battling untreatable cancer, telling her followers doctors ignored her health concerns for months before her diagnosis. She also lived with ulcerative colitis and a chronic liver disease.
Take me back to my homeland of Ireland, where the grass is green and the skies are blue.
Despite it all, she remained positive and undefeated in the ring since going pro in 2021.
Fight number 3 in the career of Georgia O'Connor. She was a very, very talented amateur. As a junior, medaled at consecutive World Youth Championships in 2017, 2018.
God, when I started boxing properly, I was like, I had gloves on since I was 4-year-old. My dad had his, crawling in boxing gloves.
Before her death, Georgia also let fans in on the roller coaster of her past year, revealing she secretly married longtime boyfriend Adriano Cardinale and suffered a pregnancy loss.
for me, a big thing is inspiring the younger generation and kind of getting my story out for kids to see and realize that it doesn't matter what happens to you in life. You can have hardships, you can have bad times, you can feel lost and lonely and that you don't fit in, but not fitting in is often a good thing. It's good to be different.
Yes.
Boxing's my life.
Oh, let me stop it. So yeah, I wanted to share that story. I know that we normally I know that everybody on here is not necessarily a boxing fan, and this isn't necessarily because it's a boxing story. I just wanted to cover it because many people go to the hospital, no matter which country you live in, and doctors will tell you, "Oh, well, no, you look like you're perfectly fine. Oh, we don't see anything here. Oh, and especially when you're younger, they'll tell you, oh, well, you're a boxer, you're 25 years old, you're in great condition. Oh, you don't have to worry about anything." And they send you home, and you have an inkling, you have a feeling that something is wrong. Don't allow just that one doctor, or even if she did go to multiple doctors who gave her a consult that both told her no, nothing's wrong. I think it's important to just follow your instincts and follow your mind. And if you feel like a doctor is not giving you the straight story, or they're not like looking hard enough, they're kind of taking you just for granted and just, oh, whatever, you're young, you'll be fine, or, oh, this is just a person who's whining and complaining. Don't allow that to be the final answer. And I'm not sure what's the level of degree that she went along pushing to try to get more attention from medical staffs, or for family. We're like, oh, don't worry, Georgia, you're fine. I just want for all of us, it's kind of like a PSA, look at this young 25-year-old girl, had her whole life ahead of her. She had a boxing career going. Obviously, she was a musician also. Recently just got married to her sweetheart, and boom, she's dead right after that. And I don't know, it was just a sad story to think about, because there's times where I went to the hospital and I've had different things that I've worried about and had deep concern. And this actually makes me think like there is something that I do need to go and double check with some of the doctors. So if you guys have any kind of medical issues, or anybody around you that that have any kind of medical conditions where they're like, oh, well, you know what, it's not bothering me too bad, or maybe I'm just overreacting and ignoring it. Or we all have those friends who they never want to go to the hospital for anything. And so unless they're like blood is gushing or they got broken bones, they're not going to the hospital. That story, I share that for those people out there that we will decide to go to the hospital. Don't sit there and worry, oh, well, maybe my copay is a little bit too expensive. I can probably get by with this. Go and get yourself checked out if you need to. So that said, just wanted to share that real quick. I'm trying out a new feature where it adds the comments to the screen. And so the comments will be posted on the screens, everybody's comments, without me having to select them. But that said, I'm going to say a little shout out to everybody who's here. Here I see Senora Monique says hello. Yeah, the shooting story is hella sus. We will definitely talk about that. See, Hamza's in the building. What's up, Hamza? Definitely some big fights coming up, Hamza. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on some of that stuff later. Yes, hospital, because hospital profit from. Hey, it's an ugly truth, but some of them are. So not even about to just like try to, water it down or sugarcoat it. It is a reality that sadly in this country, they find a way to try to capitalize off of everything and off of anybody. So, yeah, you might have a loss, or this person has a loss in this direction. Somebody else is finding a way to make a profit off of it. And it's a sad reality, but it is the world, or more directly for us, the country we live in. Yes, always have a doctor friend, or make sure your doctor's your friend. That too, be really, really close communication. what else? We will see if Till hops in the room. We'll catch it. I pushed the show a little bit earlier. Till had some stuff she wanted to do, but I'm gonna kind of get us more set on a regular schedule. So I'm not bouncing around a whole lot for you all to not be able to keep up with the show, because I know how the notifications don't always go out, or if they go out a little bit late. So I am going to try to make sure to nail down a direct time. That way it's a lot easier for you guys to find the show. Let's see. Where did I want to go from there? We got the Trump. I do want to talk about Trump's bill. Oh shoot. I don't think that let me double check to see. I don't think that I updated the settings on the Facebook side. My apologies to anybody watching over on Facebook side. Let's see. Oh, come on, slow down. There we go. So let me just do that real quick before we continue any further. All right, make that public. Cool. So now the Facebook side is public. And if you do want to comment, where I think on Facebook your comments do show on the screen, but I'm not entirely certain. So that said, okay, we're good there. So let's go on to our next subject. What did I have here? Well, I guess I can talk a little bit about the which one? I guess I will go into. I have one of these stories up here. Oh yeah, the so-called South African genocide. If you guys didn't notice, I'm pretty sure you did, because I was hearing it everywhere. The moment that it was happening, we had the South African president, which I'm not even going to dare try to say his name because I always mess it up whenever I try to pronounce it. So I'm going to leave that alone. But and I'm not entirely sure if this, because in this day and age you can't always trust all the audio. But I ran across this clip and I wanted to share comments because Trump talked about white genocide, and that's the reason why that they had to do this rushed emergency status for Afrikaners and to try to rush citizenship for the South Africans also. Which I wonder also how that's going to work out for those Afrikaners as they get here. It's one thing people's viewpoint on America from the outside of America. It's another thing when you get here. I mean, for instance, there's this one channel which I follow, which I find it really, really entertaining. This British guy who I guess he's enamored with the foods of America. And he's always covering the different cooking videos and foods and snacks. And he's even planning a trip to come to the States, and he wants to try all these different foods. And there's a lot of people who live outside of this country who believe certain things about this country, good or bad, certain opportunities that, oh, well, just be able to do this when I get there and do that when I get there. And sometimes people are able to capitalize on the so-called American dream. Sometimes people are not. Sometimes people get here and then they run into brick walls in the system, which they didn't realize existed from the outside. And so I do wonder, bringing that back around to these South Africans, I wonder how this reality is going to hit some of them when they realize that things are not quite what they were in South Africa. And if they are going to be able to transfer these skills over, if these Afrikaners are, come from farm. And hey, Lucy, I'm glad to see you here. These Afrikaners coming in, if they are coming from, say, I think most of them are farmers. If they are farmers, how is that going to translate over here? You just can't, unless they have a good chunk of money that they're bringing over here. How feasible is it to just come over here and buy acres and acres of land and then start farming? I don't know how that's going to work. Also, there's so many different rules and laws with subsidies and about growing this type of seed or that type of seed or fertilizer, and then with factory farms, I think it's just a whole different, atmosphere that these farmers will run into. And I just wonder how all that's going to work out. If they can't get into farming, how is it going to work with them when they start working other careers? Because more than likely, if they've just worked in farm work, they're not going to have a lot of other skills that translate necessarily into some of these other fields unless they've had additional education in other fields. And so I wonder how that's going to work when they start dealing with, depending on which part of the country they move to, the cost of living in America. I know a lot of people come into this country and they think about, oh, well, Americans make so much money and they pay this much for that and that much for this. But I don't think many of them grasp the concept of, yes, Americans make more money, but Americans have to pay more money for more things. So when you adjust the cost of living for living in America, what they think is more money and more opportunity sometimes is equivalent to where they were already staying, So, and I find that here, depending even in the United States, even from just moving from state to state, there are some states where, okay, you're going to make less money, but your rent or mortgage is going to be less. Your property taxes are going to be less. Your mill levy are going to be less. Your car insurance are going to be less. Renter's insurance is less. All of these things do make a difference. Health insurance. Some of these people come in and they might come from a country where your health insurance to a certain degree is already pre-factored in from your taxes that you were paying, because, for instance, in the UK, most of their stuff is kind of already like factored in. You pay your taxes and your taxes are higher, but your taxes are paying this that you don't have to think about. In America, okay, your taxes might be lower, but though you're getting a little bit more money back, you're having to pay for this and this and this and that and that and that and that that's not factored in. And so I don't think a lot of people, especially not living in the US, understand those types of things. And it's kind of one of those things you gotta live there to understand it. It's just like people who come to California or when I lived in Florida. You can come and visit those states, but you don't really understand it until you actually live there. That said, what do we see? Can we talk about Oman? Well, you have to let me know what you want to talk about Oman. Hamza says, in 2019, the white farmers were killed and Trump did nothing that time. Well, that's the thing about this whole, white genocide talk. It's not that simple because South Africa has a high violence rate in general. And it's not just the white farmers who are being targeted. You have farmers of all different nationalities in South Africa who are being targeted. When you have deep poverty, typically comes with deep crime. Now, some of that is going to fluctuate up in certain degrees, and though you do have racial tensions, there's a certain amount of that goes in. But do I believe that it's this epidemic of something that's going on? No, I really don't think that it's anything outside of what I would expect it to be far worse considering what's going on, what went on with the apartheid regime and how long it's went on. I mean, keep in mind, apartheid was still going on basically when I'm not going to say which age, but apartheid wasn't going on that long ago. There are plenty of people that of who lived through apartheid. I mean, and even when they talk about the land, some of this land that is being taken from these Afrikaners, some of this land was taken from people who were still alive. I mean, imagine being 50, 60 years old and you remember when they took that land from your parents when you were 15. I mean, some of that is the reality. They're like, no, that house right there, like we used to live there. It's not like all of this stuff is like, oh, we're clawing back stuff that was taken from somebody 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Some of this stuff is very recent memory. I mean, keep in mind, apartheid ended in the 90s. Like, I remember because you guys know, of course, I love movies. Lethal Weapon 2, one of the big whole parts of that dealt with Afrikaners, and that's where I learned like some of the racist words which Afrikaners use. Like, if you guys don't know, I guess one of their negative words for black people was a kefir. I learned that from that movie. So yes, NHS is fell. Food is really expensive in England, and rent is really expensive. English healthcare system is bad. I mean, but it is a system. At least if you have a system, you can pay for the additionals that you may need. But if you have a system, it can at least take care of some of the basics that you need. Instead of here in this country, you know, the Trump administration is trying to push people to have more kids. When you have somebody having a kid and it's $45,000, I mean, good gracious. Yes, you might be able to get this top quality healthcare if you can afford it, and therein lies the problem with America. Everybody can't afford this top quality, so there needs to be something which is, I feel like it has at least a basic tier, like something the NHS has, or something that Australia has, or something that the Nordic country has, or even Canada. Yeah, those systems are not going to be perfect, but it's still better than basically nothing, or a plan like Obamacare where you're forced to have to pay for that. And then it's just I don't really believe that our system is any kind of system that we can chide anybody else about how bad theirs is. I definitely agree. South Africa is still not free. So-called ended in the 90s. Not right. Yeah, I mean, well, to make that argument, you can even compare that to the United States. I mean, did segregation end to a degree, but this country is still massively segregated. It might not be so much in the workforces, depending on which region of the country you live in, but it's still, once you get down to neighborhood blocks, I mean, segregation ended, but redlining continued. And so all of those things are still a byproduct. It's just like any of these things, and that's the thing, when you have policies which are nationwide policies, these policies are going to impact for generations unless fixed, unless there's a targeted infrastructure at trying to break down these systems. And since this government never truly tried to rectify that, just like South Africa never truly rectified anything after apartheid, it doesn't end. The situation doesn't end. And you can even put that even into plenty of parts of Latin America. You still have these colorisms and racial breakdowns that go all the way back to the different systems which the Spaniards left. And many of those countries, the Spaniards have been gone for centuries, but therein the effects and policies still bear a lot of results on that current society. And that's the thing, if you don't rectify situations, they don't go away. I mean, that's the same thing as somebody having cancer and thinking that if I don't go to the hospital, then I just don't have cancer anymore. Doesn't work that way. Hey, Nina is in the building. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. Greetings, people of Earth. Have you corrected your No, we have not, and I don't see any situation where we will. Yes, slavery is still legal. Mandela was used to destroy bottoms-up movements. There were other leaders they used Nelson to shut those movements up. That's a good conversation also to have. I mean, that's very well possible. There's definitely truth to that. I mean, just like in a lot of the Black Power movements, there were certain people who were brought in or propped up so that they could suppress other movements, and or as these grassroots or organic movements moved up, COINTELPRO people infiltrated and captured these organizations, whether it was somebody who was corrupted from the beginning, who was moving on a certain playbook, or whether it was somebody who was compromised by blackmail or with gifts and money or whatever. These things definitely go on. And COINTELPRO, though that's the name for what our system used, there's still plenty of systems like that which happened around the world to other different movements. So it's a good point to bring up, Hamza. Marcus, since 2021, 1.2 million Canadians have shifted to Mexico, and 1.8 Americans. Yeah, I think more Americans are going to keep on shifting to other countries, Mexico being one of those, especially since you have a lot of people who are of I'm being careful with this term because I know some people don't love the term. Some people have problems with it, especially different people I've been listening to. But for lack of better purposes, I'll use the terms which we colloquially all understand. When I say Hispanic or Latino, there's a big portion of Hispanic or Latino people throughout this country. And whether they be of Mexican descent or not, a country like Mexico may be appetizing. I do definitely understand that. And I understand Americans who might decide to move there also. Oh, shoot, Wheezy is in the building. What's up, Wheezy? Good to see you. Lucy says, I think people confusing white people in South Africa from elsewhere. All white people are descended from Europe and America. They make up significant number of the poor, not in South Africa. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I think it'll be interesting seeing these people come in and seeing how they acclimate, seeing if they don't decide to go back to South Africa, because sometimes people, even if the situation might be a little bit better for them, some people miss home, miss family. So I think we'll see. And if keep in mind, there's millions of white Afrikaners in South Africa, and only 59 people took Trump up on the offer. So what that says to me is a lot of people are like, no, I'm good. Or I've also heard many of those Afrikaners after apartheid ended, many of them who decided to leave went back to Europe. They went to Denmark, they went to Germany, they went to the UK, they went to plenty of other places. And that also makes plenty of sense to me because some of them still have ties and roots in some of those areas. So makes sense. It's like you have to pay zero taxes. Yeah, there's always a trade-off though. When you pay zero taxes, there's something else that you always have to worry about. Oh yeah, and Wheezy, if you want to hop on, you can definitely let me know. It's always good to talk to you, brother. So let me see what's my next story that I want to go into. Oh, that's what I forgot to bring up. And if you guys hear a dog crying in the background, my apologies. That is not my dog. That is my neighbor's dog. They leave the dog out there all the time. And it's really sad and irritates me, but it's not much I can do about it. It's my landlord's dog. Let's see, what was I bringing up? Let me pull this up. So, don't want to use CNN. Screw it, I'll take Washington Post. Let's see. Text me stream. We do after uploads. All right. Q, I'll send it to you, sir. Y'all just bear with me a second while I send this to Wheezy. And I imagine Till will be here soon. Or y'all all bugged Till, be like, where you at? Where you at? Like, yes, copy. right, let's see. There you go. Okay, Wheezy just sent it to you now. It's in your IG. So there. So let's share this. Make sure I got the right article. Of course, some damn pop-up already. Oh no, they want, oh, well, I guess I don't need this one. Definitely not using the Guardian. Yeah, okay, this will work. Let's try BBC then. And granted, just because I use this article does not mean I necessarily endorse the these news agencies as a whole. Just using it for a reference point. So this one says Trump's tariff plans could spark global economic shock. Also, I don't necessarily weigh into whatever hyperbolic points. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with whichever way they try to put the narrative for these stories. But let's see. Let's start. The resumption of the global trade war by Donald Trump comes after a period of relative calm. But the U.S. president's threat of a 50% tariff on all goods from the EU is a week's time suggests the trade war tensions were merely on hold. They have now resumed in earnest alongside market uncertainty and social media diplomacy. It indicates significant volatility in the coming weeks ahead of a crucial G7 summit in Canada next month. The crux of what is happening right now is that after the U.S. opted to roll back on its trade stopping tariff conflict with China, most of the rest of the world, especially key U.S. allies, slowed up on their own negotiations with the U.S. allies would not expect to be treated worse by the U.S. than China. Friday's intervention by President Trump is much worse than what was considered the worst case scenario, a 20% tariff rate on the EU in early July at the end of a 90-day pause, which that 90-day pause was supposed to end, I believe, July 1st. So basically, this is just moving that up and moving a little bit more aggressively. And what it seems like to me, since Bassett and other administration officials have been having talks with different European leaders, it seems like they haven't been able to come to some kind of agreement, and it seems like Trump is probably aggravated. So he just said, you know what, let me just threaten a little bit more. And I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, it seemed like when he tried that approach with China, it didn't really work nearly as much. But at the same time, the EU is not China. China has a lot more leverage on their side to push back on. And I think that their population is more willing to grin and bear any kind of internal struggles. Not saying completely, there are definitely people who are not happy about what's going on with those tariffs and are struggling over there and are vocal about it. But I just feel China is more suited to grin and bear it a little bit more out of a sense of national pride and a feeling of being attacked by the West. Whereas the UK, I don't know. They might say, yo, we've already been struggling with some of the different things from the tariffs that have been put on Russia before that have affected different other trades. And now we have this being attacked from this direction. And then we're going to have to deal with stuff that's imported from China that already has these tariffs. So some of these European countries are getting hit 2 and 3 and 4 different ways, and they might not have as much resolve to be able to push back, especially since it's a lot harder for them to rectify this trade imbalance. If you've been to Europe, one thing you'll notice first is their roads are a lot smaller than ours. So if they were going to try to rectify like the vehicle imbalance, I don't know how you do that. You can't bring a lot of these American vehicles over to Europe. And even let's say you could bring some of them over there. the fact of how much more gas that they use, with gas prices being higher in Europe than they are stateside. I don't know how those types of things work out. Also, there are certain prohibitions on certain things that are in our foods that they can't bring over there. Certain, like the red dye and high fructose, and some of those areas, some of those nations don't allow some of these. So some of the foods, some of the GMO, some of the gluten in some of these, some cases, and then some of the vehicles. I don't know how you balance out this so-called trade imbalance when some of these things they can't really like feasibly like factor into their society and use more. Also, now granted, you do have like for instance, Ford and I haven't really seen any other ones, but just when I was in Europe in particular, Ford does have like some of their products that are European based only, and I'm sure maybe some of the other ones do too. I just don't know how well that works with their pricing still being more expensive, even if you do cut away whatever tariffs that might be levied on them. So I don't understand exactly how the US will kind of balance this out. It doesn't make as much sense to me, but let's hop in and read a little bit more. Use the Brave browser, Marcus. I don't know what the Brave browser is. You'll have to educate me on that. Oh, wait a minute. Lucy says, I went to South Africa and saw a handful of poor whites working at the parking meters, but they were few. Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me drop this down because there was something that I did forget to mention before skipping out from the whole South African thing. Let me just drop this all together. Well, no, actually, I'll finish this and then I'll just circle back to it because I realized there was something that I wanted to show that I forgot about. Brave browser is a Chrome browser clone. Trade deficit is a rich person's annoyance, not a real problem. I agree. But when you're dealing with a president who I feel doesn't have proper understanding on many things, and he's loud, proud, and wrong. Trump is not a smart man. And you can just tell by the way he even like his speech pattern. Trump speaks like somebody who went to all the finest schools and didn't learn a damn thing in any of them, not even proper grammar. And you can tell by that because the way like adjectives which he uses, there's no like way where he could like formulate his sentence better than just say huge, 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 greatest, 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 biggest, 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 very, very, very bad. I mean, it's very, very elementary. It almost seems like somebody who is virtually illiterate. That's what it comes across to me. I could be wrong, but Trump comes across as somebody who's pretty close to illiterate. Or maybe reads on a very, very low level. That's probably also why he doesn't want to pay attention to too much stuff unless it has his name in it. He's also extremely narcissistic. And so when you have somebody who's not very smart, kind of narcissistic, well, not kind of, extremely narcissistic, and they've gotten into their head certain things by either being manipulated by somebody who is full of it or somebody who doesn't understand either. He's kind of just listening and kind of following something that doesn't make sense. And since people like him simplify everything, everything has to be simplistic, trying to explain out something that's nuanced doesn't click with somebody like Trump. Because once you're talking more than 5 minutes, his mind already tunes out to what he wants to say back. And he doesn't allow for you to lay out a full premise on what's being talked about. So I imagine it's hard to get anywhere with somebody like Trump because he just doesn't listen. And especially if you're not somebody who he holds in some form of reverence, i.e. other rich people. Yes, he's an absolute economic dimwit. Yes, and I think he's going to run this country into all kinds of turmoil because of not being very intelligent. And when you've been able, that's one thing which is the most dangerous. A rich, powerful idiot is one of the most dangerous things ever because there's nobody around to tell them no, and they're going to have power to do so many things, and they're not going to change it until many people have been massively affected in a negative way or it blows back on them. And a lot of times that's going to take a whole lot of pain from millions and millions of people before it ever clicks to somebody like Trump. And with like the tax bill stuff, like I went into it when I talked about the Kansas experiment, how Sam Brownback brought in Arthur Laffer and he followed his prescriptions, and it took a couple of years before it finally clicked to them. But even the Republicans had to realize, okay, we fucked up. This is not working. All this stuff that we felt like, oh, well, we can run all this debt and then the growth is going to pay for the debt. No, it's bullshit. And just like how people on the right criticize, people who are democratic socialists, social democrats, socialists, communists, whatever, the so-called economic far left, just how they criticize them and, oh, they want to take everything and make it government. Just like a lot of those policies have not been implemented fully in America and are, for lack of a better word, some of them are more philosophical. It's the same thing with the right. It's the same exact thing with the right. None of the stuff that they want to do is actually fully been implemented. It's all philosophical. And they're so certain that it just makes perfect sense. And what's going to happen is I think we're going to have to see that we're going to have to be that experiment. Just like Kansas did their experiment and failed, because you have so many Republicans who are so short-serving, they're thinking, how much money can I get right now? It's going to help me. You're not thinking about the overall health of the country and the reverberating effects of what you do with this economic policy. Because you're not thinking of you. You're thinking of yourself. You're thinking of this business interest. You're thinking of the person who just gave you all this campaign money, just helping their business. And since American businessmen and corporations think of what helps my business, well, what helps your business might be these tax cuts, but how does it affect the entire nation? And how does it affect, many other businesses? And if it helps you and screws everybody else in America's capitalist system, that's fine with these businessmen. They don't give a damn. If they can make, $1 trillion and the whole rest of the economy completely collapses, they don't care. And therein what makes this climate we have right now so dangerous. So we have so many people who are just thinking about me, and not thinking about how this is going to help everybody else or hurt everybody else, and how this is going to affect future generations. See, Yona is in the building. What's up, Yona? Let's oh yeah, let me get back into more of that article. Hopefully it goes into the other parts which I was reading to. Okay, so we stop. Friday's intervention by President Trump is much worse than what was considered the worst case scenario. 20% of tariff rate on EU in early July at the end of the 90-day pause. As his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, openly admitted, these threats are designed to light a fire under such stalled talks. Many in the EU and other countries such as Japan believe the US administration is bluffing and that it will back down against China in the face of rising inflation and market volatility. and will inevitably do so again. So the scene is now set for an impasse, or perhaps the EU to reinstate its own pause retaliation, while the rest of the world, apart from China and the UK, watch on. The UK's trade deals with both sides insulate the British economy to some extent, but full resumption of transatlantic tariff war will cause a trade shock that would be difficult to escape. I think that sums it up enough right there. I wonder, does it go into more? No, it doesn't go into more in this one. But Trump didn't stop there with the tariffs. Trump didn't stop there. For those who did not hear, Trump has also put a 25% tariff on Apple, that if iPhones are not made in the country, then he's going to hit them with that 25% tax. Now, I don't know when that's supposed to go into effect, but even if they did acquiesce to Trump's request, and Apple was able to do that, which is kind of funny. Apple put 1 million towards Trump, and this is the thanks they get for it. But even if they did it and they move their manufacturing out of India and China, which they move their manufacturing in India and some of these other countries because to try to get away from tariffs last time, which Trump did the first administration against China. To try to move, for one, I don't see any way that they could get factories over here up and running fastest, I would say, unless they're taking over, they would have to probably take over some old factory somewhere, and retrofit it and everything. Which I say probably would. Well, you got to deal with zoning and building requirements and all that. Would probably take anywhere from 9 months to a year earliest. That's earliest, and that's taking an old factory and trying to refurbish it. If you were building from scratch and having to buy the land and having to build the foundation and deal with different zoning requirements and all that, you could be looking at years to get that done, 2 to 3 years. And that's a byproduct of just some of the bureaucracy and red tape, which if Doge was going in to get rid of things like that to help businesses build faster, okay, I can understand that, and I can get the argument they're trying to make, but that's not what they did or trying to do. I see this as, even if let's say, for instance, they do the first step, they don't try to break new ground. Let's say that they do a retrofitted old factory and put it back into use, repurpose it for making iPhones. You could look at just the fact of how much. Let's say they even only pay little bit more than what they're paying equivalent in whichever country they're bringing them from, India, China, whatever. The fact that American companies have to take out insurance on employees and how much that is factored in, the cost that would be passed back onto them, and holding. I'm talking about health insurance for the employees, and also taking out insurance for any kind of workman's comp and stuff like that. And you start factoring all those things in to the cost, and all those costs are going to be pushed forward onto into the pricing. Which, granted, depending on if it moves into some depressed area like let's say some part of Cleveland, which had a whole bunch of old factories. Yeah, you might get some kind of tax abatement, which might save, money for a certain amount of years. But you're still going to be looking at iPhones going up tremendously. We're talking about them possibly being 2 to 3 times the amount. So I don't know exactly how much a brand new. Let's look up how much a brand new iPhone costs right now. Let's see, brand new iPhone, because I don't know, because most people, even when they buy them, they're doing it on some kind of payment plan. iPhone, I guess I could probably type that too. Okay, let's see. So it says some reports indicate that iPhone 17 Pro Max could cost upwards of $1,700 or even $2,300 for the 1 TB storage option. So okay, we're looking at 1,700. You can be looking at easily 3,000 for a phone, an iPhone. That's a low end. And say you wanted to get it with that I guess 1 TB is what, 1 TB storage option. That 2,300 phone would easily probably be like $6,000. I don't see. I think that would tank sales for iPhones because then you have to factor in. Does that mean like iPhones, which are sold even to other countries, have to be sold here in the States? Because if that manufacturing of iPhones, even ones that are going to be sold into the UK or ones that are going to be sold into South America or Central America or Africa or other parts of Asia, for some of these places where the cost of living is much less, how are they going to be able to afford a $3,500 phone or a $6,000 phone? Especially when you have Huawei that they could buy or other, phones. So I look at Trump's piss poor understanding of economics is going to be detrimental if he keeps pushing forward with these tariffs. Now, I honestly think what's going to happen is he keeps doing this. It's going to spook the bond markets again, and it's going to make him back down because Trump is no different than the bully, which once you punched him in the chest, they back down. And he's trying to just bully tactics. Because if you look at it, he really only has a couple of moves. And most of those moves come down to aggression, force, bullying, and I think a good chunk of it's bluffing. Which he says art of the deal. It's not really an art of the deal. It's kind of more like a loan shark. Let me try to break some ankles and break an arm and see if that can get you to do what I need you to do. But in the case of Trump, he's actually bluffing. I'm going to break your arm, but not actually do it. But that bringing back around to, and he also said that not only would this be on Apple and iPhone, this would be extended, could be extended also to Samsung and other cell phone companies, cell phone manufacturers. Sorry, which kind of confuses me even more because I get iPhone is an American company. Granted that most of their manufacturing is offshore. What about companies like Samsung, which is not an American company? Are you telling me that now they have to abandon their country and move to the States? I don't get how that works. I mean, and I can see a situation where trying to force that on them could make them say, you know what, we're just going to not sell our products in the U.S. I mean, I don't know. It looks like a lot of this is just very emotional and reacting off the hip and not really planning or thinking anything out. Which this brings back around to, when we're talking about the whole South African thing and the white genocide thing, because keep in mind, he put tariffs on South Africa also. And I believe the tariffs were something like 25%. Let me see. I don't remember exactly, but let me double check how much he tariffed South Africa. Because I honestly believe that part of this whole white genocide thing is brought up because of the tariffs. One part of it. Let's see. let's see. Yeah, what I'm seeing, I think it was. Let's see. I think it was 25%. And let's keep in mind, there's a lot of trade that goes on from America to South Africa, whether we know it or not. Yes, that's the trade. That's the trade deficit. Well, that's the trade. That's the tariff that's been put on. There's something like 200 to 300 billion in trading that we do with South Africa alone. So I think that this comes into it, and if you look at what our foreign policy has been hinged around lately, dealing with Israel, and you factor back to South Africa was the one who filed the complaint as far as genocide against Israel. I think this has a big bearing on why he went after South Africa, in particular with these whole with some of the whole white genocide. Feel like, oh, well, you're coming after them. Well, what about what you got going on in your country? Marcus, you got to bring on Cape Town socialists. He's white South African, and I would love to let me screenshot that so I can remember to look them up and reach out to them, because I would love to have the conversation. But I did have this video that I want to share that I don't like I said, I will put out the disclaimer. I do not know for a fact if this is AI rendered voice of the South African president, or if this is I'll try to say his name, Ramaphosa. I always mess it up, so hopefully I got it right this time. I just easily a lot of times just say President Cyril. But this is said to be his response to Trump. And I'll play this real quick. Again, disclaimer, I do not know for a fact if this is AI rendered, if somebody made this up on their own, or if this was actually his response to Trump. But I couldn't find this corresponding audio anywhere else, but I just want to share.
He came to make me confess. Trump opened with a video about white genocide, aiming to convict me outright. The most absurd part, he cited the Expropriation Act to claim we are confiscating white land, willfully ignoring the fact that 7% of the population whites still control 72% of all farmland. Even more ironic, as he accused us of genocide, US police have already shot 327 Black Americans this year. When he grandstanded about admitting 59 South African white refugees, I almost laughed. The number is smaller than Florida's weekly deportation tally. This Human Rights Defender Act is just political theater for his extreme domestic base. Mid-meeting, he suddenly pulled out his phone for a selfie. Smile. I'm tweeting we're discussing white genocide. Later, when reporters asked about progress, he absurdly claimed, we just saved South African whites, just like I saved US auto workers, completely dismissing the trade issues we'd actually discussed. This wasn't about cooperation. He came to make me confess. Trump opened with a video about white genocide, aiming to convict me outright.
And something that I did want to mention about the video that Trump shared, which is kind of, it shows like this dude Trump can just, anybody who shows him anything, he does no vetting of anything. And it's, I guess that's probably the one thing that irritates me more than anything about Trump. Most people, when most presidents, they may kind of like say one thing while not saying another truth or not adding in all the information. Some will promise something that they have no intention of doing. But I feel Trump, he doesn't even try to research anything to be certain if it's truth or lie. He just it sounds good to him, he just goes with it. He doesn't say, let me double check this, and neither does Elon. And that's one thing that blows my mind. Two of the people who have some of the largest platforms do no vetting of their information. They don't try to see, well, am I possibly wrong in what I'm saying? No, it fits the narrative that I want, so I'm just going to put it out. Rondo says, I hate that with AI voice snatching. Hate that voice snatching AI. You can never be too sure about recordings like this. Yeah, that's why I put out every disclaimer about this. I do not know for 100% fact if that's true or not. But I put it out just in case it is. And if it's not, if it comes out later on that you guys find that I shared this video and it was an AI render, it was not President Cyril what he had to say or his response. My apologies for that. But yeah, I just wanted to share that just in case that was what he's saying. The AI is good enough to fool Jack. Yeah, that's the thing. Trump showed in there. It's this image of all these crosses in South Africa, and Trump put out basically, and Elon had tweeted this out before about how this is all the white farmers that have been killed. Let me see if I can find the photo. Let's see if I can find. I just want to share it in case you guys did not see this. There we go. Found it. So this is the image which Trump shared. And talked about how all the crosses are on both sides of the street. And these are all the white South Africans who have been killed and all that. And one of the white South Africans whose parents were killed said that no, this is not what this is. The white crosses, for one, are not just white South Africans. It's South African farmers in general, because these people who are coming on and attacking and taking these people's lives on their farms, they're not only coming after white farmers. They're coming after white farmers. They're coming after black farmers. They're coming after coloreds. They're coming after, Indian farmers. They're coming after farmers in general. And to make this as if this is just targeted after white people only is where the lie comes in. These are not even actual graves. This is I'm trying to think of, what did he call it? This is more like let's see, what do they call it? Kind of more like a memorial. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This is more like a memorial. This isn't actual people's graves. And this is a memorial to symbolize the loss of life of South African farmers of all races. And basically a call to stop the violence as a whole. Whereas Trump and Elon turned this into, oh, this is just about white people. And it doesn't surprise me when you factor in that people who find Elon to be smart and intelligent tell me that you don't pay very much attention. Elon is not an intelligent guy. He's not a very smart man. I get it. He's so-called the richest man on the planet. I don't believe that's even true. I believe he's the richest man, which they will allow. He's rich to be the face of the richest man, to hide other people who are far, far wealthier. That's his whole point. They got to put some rich dummy out there so that it obscures the real wealthy people, the real people. Because if you find the real wealthiest people, then you'll see who's really controlling and pushing different narratives. You'll see the people who are giving Trump his parameters, which he can play within. Because, like, I've kind of evolved on my way of looking at the owners and the powers that be who control things. They don't sit there and phone a call down to Trump and tell him, do this, do that. It's more so they put certain people around whatever different leaders, and it's not just Trump. It could be Trump, it can be Obama, it could be Biden, it could be whoever. And I think that this influence of the powers that be has been around easily, I want to say, back to the days of a Harry Truman, back to the days of FDR. I think that it's been going on back that far. I think it's been going on at least since the foundation of the Federal Reserve, where they just kind of, let me just nudge them back where I want them. I'm not going to sit there and sit on their shoulder, because that way we have enough plausible deniability. But I'm going to put this person over there, and put this person over there, and put this person, and all of these little checks. It's kind of like when you're a kid, or people who have kids, and you go bowling and you bring the bumpers out. That way you keep the ball within the lane, you keep it from going into the gutter. But the ball is still making its own trajectory. It's just hitting that bumper and then coming back over. And that's kind of what they do with these political leaders. They allow them to have a certain amount of range of motion and let them move this way or that way. But they don't let them go past here, and they don't let them go past here. And then on certain things, yes, they will get more involved and direct. This needs to go that way. That's how I believe. So let's see, what did Rondo say? The white genocide narrative is Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's fear of genetic annihilation theory. Well, I think that you're seeing that I talked about this last week with Elon and the pronatalist stuff. With the pronatalist stuff, a lot of these people are looking at the declining birth rates of people of European descent. And I mean, and honestly, you could say not only I would say actually Indo-European as a whole. You're seeing declining birth rates of European and Asian populations. So whether that be from Europe all the way over to China, and people who descend from those areas, whether that's in America, Australia, South Africa, wherever, you're starting to see people who descend from the whole Eurasian area, from Europe all the way across to Asia. You're seeing population declines across the board. And I think that does fear that. I think that does fear the powers that be more than anything, because they feel as their numbers decline and as they their proxies start to lose control over certain regions, if those regions become powerful enough, then they can actually really speak out on the powers that be who are putting the screws to them, and really expose that to the masses. And then when the masses are able to actually know, oh, you know, that big giant compound that you drive by that you never realized what it was or who owns it. Yeah, these people own it, and these people actually control this much stake in this and this and this. It might have the masses of people around them start, to grab the pitchforks in a sense. And that's why they have to control that. That's the reason why you have some of these world leaders who, Ibrahim Traore, that's the reason why, there's attempts after his life, and there was people who went after Gaddafi. And there's reasons why certain countries are always more demonized and have to go after. And you can typically look to anyone which does not allow the whole Federal Reserve type system, the IMFs, the ones who don't allow those systems into their country and try to operate independently. All of a sudden, that these nations are considered the terrorist, evil nations that need to be, put down, and they're the cause of all the crime and everything in the world. And it's because they've allowed they've been able to resist and have autonomy, which threatens that powers that be. And that's a big part of why Iran is such a target. That's the reason why Iran is deemed the bad guy on everything. And you can typically see who they consider the bad guy in every time period, especially with entertainment, because all you got to do is look to a certain time period, and you're going to see whichever country they consider the negative person, you're going to see that person put in as the villain repeatedly. There was a certain time period where, well, shoot, you still see, no matter what, where Germans are always constantly dragged through the mud. And I mean, rightfully so in some things, but in 2025, you don't still need to keep relitigating what happened all the way back then. I don't believe that nation, I mean, what else can they do? They paid reparations, they did this, they did that. What else can they do? I mean, I get if they didn't pay any reparations for it, if land wasn't taken, if this wasn't, if there were no consequences that happened to them, I get that. But you did everything else you can do. What do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? Like, take the nation and make that part another part of Europe? I don't get what else you want to do with them. Yes, it's funny you mentioned True Lies. It was the Iranians were the villains, because that's honestly one of the movies I was thinking about. I was thinking about how during the 80s, you saw a big influx of everything being, well, 70, I would say 70s and 80s, you had a big flux of it being the Russians, which the Russians are always still deemed the bad guys. Russians, Germans, interchangeably always considered the bad guys. Then it started to be in the 90s where you started having vaguely Middle Eastern were the bad guys. I mean, even I think, what was it, Rambo? And Rambo, was that 3? It was the Afghanis and the Russians. Well, the Afghanis, when you had the Mujahideen, they were considered the freedom fighters and all that, but you had the Russians who were the bad guys. And that was what tail end of the 80s, switching into the 90s. And then into the 90s, you started to see more of the bad guy being of Middle Eastern descent. I mean, I think Back to the Future, even Back to the Future, they were Iranians who were the villains. Even up to what is it, the Wonder Woman 1984, they didn't put a name on it, but they were loosely a Middle Eastern foe or adversary. And I think also that's, well, the movie, I'm not going to go into my commentary on that, but the Libyans are also made to be the bad guys. Let's see, in Predator, this team were probably after, let's see, who was Doctor being pursued by him back to, no, Libyans. Was it the Libyans or was it Iranians? I'm pretty sure it was Iranians that were after him. You know, now I have to check Rondo. Now you got me questioning. Back to the Future. Now you got me questioning. They were. You're correct. I stand corrected. It was the Libyans, not Iranians. But it still goes into what I was saying. Middle Eastern terrorists, that became the motive in all these movies. The Middle Eastern terrorists. When in that time period in the 90s, you still had the IRA who were blowing up buildings all over the UK. I mean, taking hostages and all that. I mean, there's so many places where you could have made anybody be villains. Hell, in the United States, you could have took certain parts of the United States and made them villains. Yeah, it was 1985, but yeah, I guess they were getting ahead of the curve, making the making the enemy the Muslims. Let's see, and then I'm sorry, I didn't got way off of topic where I was going with that about the bad guys. I'm sorry, my apologies. But yeah, that's where we were going. That's how we got. I don't know. We got way off of that, but the whole white genocide thing. It all goes back to a fear of people who have been screwed over, getting the ability to come after. And I think honestly, it's a fear of some of these people that they believe that because of how they did other people, that recompense is going to come back on them. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if Asia becomes the new hegemonic power, it's not definitive that they're going to come after America, for instance, or start forcing everybody to have to speak Mandarin tomorrow. I mean, that's not. I mean, I don't believe that that's what would be coming. I think it's just an economic thing. I mean, look at what the United States did to Japan, back in the 80s and 90s, economically, and these were our allies who didn't even have a military. So I don't think it was any real threat that Japan was going to take over America or the Western world. It's just, I don't know. It's something with our nation, is how they decide to deal in this so-called free market, which is heavily manipulated and controlled, which they don't really even play by their own rules. What did it say? Elliot's mom and E.T. wanted one of her children to change their Halloween costume because they look like a terrorist. I got to go back and see that. Wow, I did not think about that. I don't even remember that. It's been so long since I've seen E.T., but that's a good point, Ron. I'm gonna have to check it out. So let's see. I was kind of waiting, hopefully, till I'll wait for a while before I go into the Diddy stuff. Even though I don't have a lot on the Diddy stuff, I don't want to have to come back around to it if Till does come in. But let's go into those Bibi. Let's go into Bibi right now. What Bibi had to say, because I think this ties into another story after that. So Netanyahu has recently had a speech. Came out, says Israel will control all Gaza by end of offensive. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, or Malowski, or whatever the hell his real name is, has said the only way to ensure the security of his country was for it to control all of the Gaza Strip by the end of its offensive in the Palestinian territory. So it says what you need to know. Israeli Prime Minister has said that Israel will control all of Gaza Strip by the end of its ongoing offensive in the Palestinian territory. He also said Israel was prepared to enact a temporary ceasefire to bring about the release of hostages still held in Gaza. Meanwhile, the aid groups Doctor Without Borders called the amount of aid Israel has begun to allow in the war-torn Gaza Strip insufficient and a smokescreen to pretend the siege is over. The live, I guess I don't need to read that part either. But the reason why I say mask off in this is because it's kind of come out that this has been, we've all kind of assumed this is what's been going on, but they've kind of just been saying it more and more. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't pull up the right one. I talked about the rift between Trump. But let's read it. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed circulation that he and U.S. President Donald Trump had fallen out. Rumors of a rift between the two staunch allies surfaced after Trump's visit to 3 Gulf states, his first major foreign tour since he returned to the White House in January, but did not stop in Israel. Which my commentary on that is, I don't think that that's something that we have to necessarily really worry about. As we see, no weapons have stopped being sent. And I think that that's a way to kind of gaslight people to think that something has changed, which gives Israel the, I guess, it gives cover to the U.S. in a way that if Israel goes ahead and does some operations in Iran, that they can claim that they had nothing to do with it. So they can try to, throw their rocks and hold their hand. Hide their hands in a sense. That perceived omission led some observers to speculate on whether Trump was growing impatient over the war in Gaza Strip, where Israel has intensified in military campaign in recent weeks. During his visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates, Trump signed massive business and investment deals, by which I would say personally for himself and his family. Shortly before the visit, Trump ended a bombing campaign against Houthi rebels in Yemen, which has continued firing missiles at Israel in solidarity with Hamas in Gaza. And the reason why I think that he ended that is because it was starting to actually affect the US and cost us money. And it would have started to show up, the damage that was being done. And so he just kind of backed down from it. I don't think that is, some kind of flex against Israel or anything. I think it's like, okay, this is untenable to keep the situation going. And I think Trump doesn't want to have a situation where he looks weak and he looks like he's losing. So it's like cut and run early before things start to look bad, as the Yemeni continue to inflict damage on us. And we spin and spin and spin, and it's not really affecting them the same way because we're spending a whole lot more to attack them. And when they attacked us, we're hurting a lot more than they are. Even though we're the behemoth, it's still affecting us more than it's affecting them because they've been able to deal with massive attacks from various different countries and stomach them. So I don't see why they couldn't continue against us while we're halfway around the world too. Also, we can't afford to end up losing a carrier. We lose a carrier, it could be a huge embarrassment for the United States. So that's the reason why I think that's kind of went away. I mean, one report of an F-14 kind of fall. I think it was not either it was an F-14 or no, it was an F-14, I believe, that fell off of a carrier. And that kind of just, let's just push that up under the rug and let's not talk about it. So I think they're like, I don't know if it's worth it for us to continuously worry about that. And since they made the arrangement, hey, our problem is mainly with Israel. We'll stop attacking ships that are not directly going to Israel or not, Israeli connected. Let's see. This is not really talking about what I want to talk about here. I guess I saved the wrong article because that's not going. Let me just keep going down. Let me scroll down. I must have saved this for a reason. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has said the military has demolished refugee camps in the occupied West Bank during a months-long operation targeting Palestinian militants. We entered the refugee camp simultaneously and crushed them, Netanyahu said at a press conference in Jerusalem. UN says no aid is, I guess that's what it was. When I saved this, whatever article I was reading, put in multiple articles and not the direct one that I had. But, oh yeah, this is saved a bunch of different articles in here. So it's giving kind of a heads up on all the different stuff that was going on. About the EU diplomats that were fired upon. And I wonder if it has the one. Anyway, let me just get to the point of what I wanted to mention. People like Smotrich. People like Smotrich have been Smotrich and who else? What's the other one? I can't think of his name. They have been saying for the longest that we are not. They don't want to send any kind of aid in, and now they're kind of speaking out that we just need to kind of give a cover so that we can continue what we want to do. And even within Israel, Trump has been not Trump, but Netanyahu has been using Trump's name, saying, we're enacting the Trump plan. And so when they're talking about this full control of Gaza, not just the Strip, they're talking about the West Bank, all of that. We could see a reality where they take everything over, and we're a lot closer to that than believed. And I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, it was going to happen that way, regardless." Maybe, maybe not. I mean, maybe it could have been held off for a little bit longer before something like this happened. Maybe another 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years before they finally got to what their goal is. I do believe that the Greater Israel Project, it's not even just about occupied Palestine. It's not even just that. It is a larger aspiration. And even if people say, "Oh, it's only some extremists who got a little bit of power in the government," well, it doesn't matter if it's just a handful of. Even if you say that's 10% of Israel that wants to do that, well, the 10% that want to do that have power and they're enacting it, so it matters. It wouldn't matter if you had that 10%, just like if you had a contingent of so-called Black Americans, if they wanted to go do a whole bunch of horrendous stuff to white people, it not really as impactful because they don't have power to enact it. That makes a difference. Your power to be able to enact what you want to. That's the reason why, that's the reason why this is a whole lot different than just somebody having that. Like for instance, you can have you can have a 5-year-old kid who hates your guts and wants to beat the hell out of you, but can they really do it? No. But if Mike Tyson wants to beat the hell out of you, he can. He has every ability to do that to you. And I'm just throwing out crazy references, but you guys get my point, what I'm saying. Right now, Israel has the power to enact all their worst and horrible desires on these people. And there's no pushback. There's no ref jumping in and stopping this. No, I hope not. You're talking about digging your hole. Don't dig your hole yet. But let me show y'all this video. I mean, for people who try to say that, well, this is not really like what's going on within, and I'm so all over the place. I apologize, y'all. I'll go back into Trump's tax bill. Oh, that's something separate because I was talking about tariffs. So I didn't completely skip around, my bad. But I wanted to bring up what was it? This video that I ran across. And it was kind of alarming to me. Yes and no, because I've seen other projects where they talk to Israelis on the street. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with, I think I've showed it before, of the Omegle or whatever, which I've never gotten onto it. Not from the stuff I see, I don't think I ever want to get onto it. I mean, I kind of don't really understand it either, but there's this Palestinian kid who's pretty famous. I think he has millions of subscribers. And no, that's not what I wanted. He has millions of subscribers, and he does this video where he gets on and he just starts talking to Palestinians, and some of just the temperament and of the people there was just like I feel like in we almost need to see it to see how like crazy and insane some of these people sound. Let me see if I can find that video, because I just want to show like a lot of those people who try to say, oh well, that's just the these extremists like Smotrids and was it Ben Gavir? That's just, oh well, that's some of these just that's not reflective of the population. And I don't know if this is reflective of the population, but or how this is clipped together. If he just clipped together only people saying horrendous stuff to make Israelis look bad, I don't know. But I wanted to share this video because it was just like, it was disturbing to see it, because the ages of some of the people he was talking to, how, I mean, here, I'll find it and I'll just share with you all so you can see what they were saying. There it is. So hold on, it's gonna start. So let me pause it. Okay, now I got it. Let me share it on the screen so you guys can see what I was talking about. You mean a Palestinian talking to Little Z? Is that the guy's name? No, I don't think this guy's name is Little Z. So I'm gonna take it back to this. And also, actually, I'll just put it the screen, the front. I subscribe to his channel because he talked about for every subscription to this channel, it helps donate money towards Palestinians in Gaza. So I wanted to share that, and hopefully you guys will go over and subscribe to this channel also. Let me share it on the screen. But his name is Hamza. Ironic, we got a Hamza of our own, but yes, please, Hamza Sadah, and that's HAMZAH SAADAH. So this is his channel. Here, I'll share it. He talks about how he how a portion of this money goes towards helping Palestinians, and then I'll just play like a couple minutes of this so you guys can hear how unhinged many people in Israel sound. And keep in mind, a lot of these are young kids, and so if this is how the younger generation is thinking, here, I'll just play.
2024 has been a crazy year for Palestine. In this video, I speak to nearly 100 Israelis about Palestine. I put together clips from previous videos, and I also snuck in a few exclusive clips that have never been seen before. And also, to end the year right, I will be donating 10 cents to Palestine for every new subscriber I get from this video. So basically, for every 10,000 subscribers I get, I will donate $1,000 to Palestine. Let's try to raise as much money as possible, so subscribe if you're new, and here's the video. Hi, where are you from? I have no idea.
I'm from the military.
You're from the military? Are you in the IDF?
Actually, let me back that up again so you guys can see. Because he saved his he had his YouTube channel page right there so you guys can see that.
I will donate $1,000 to Palestine. Let's try to raise as much money as possible, so subscribe if you're new.
See, there it is right here. Hamza Sadah. So that's the channel. Please go over and subscribe. That way we can help, send money over. So here, I'll start it back and continue.
Oh, and here's the video. Hi, where are you from? I have no idea.
I'm from the military.
You're from the military? Are you in the IDF?
Yeah.
Have you killed any Palestinians? The 15,000 children that have been killed in Gaza.
I don't believe that number.
What number do you believe? How many children have been killed?
0.
Are you blind? There is video footage of all of
I have
this.
proof of babies.
Show me it right now. Put it up onto the screen right now. I'm going to let you do it. The floor is yours.
Wait, I'm going to show you right now.
Okay, show me. How many? 40 of them? Don't skip me. Don't lag out. Don't let Hamas take your internet. Okay, good. Show me.
Habibi.
I'm not your Habibi. Show me your, where is it? Where is it?
Well, I want to show you.
No. You're going to show me bearded babies. You're going to, no. You're going to show me bearded babies. Show me bearded babies or nothing. Exactly. Show me. Show me the bearded babies. He took your phone? Is that what you just said? Someone took your phone? Like you took my land? They took your phone?
I swear to God, he took the phone. I swear to God.
Look at you. Look at you.
No, you coward.
Show me the bearded babies.
Behind all of you.
Oh, I'm going to take my phone. Show me. Get your phone back. Show me. You're crazy, dude. You're a disgrace to humanity. You understand that? Free Palestine. What is wrong with these people?
Hello.
Hi.
You're famous in TikTok.
Am I also famous in Israel?
Yes.
What do you think about Palestinians?
That I hate them and I wish they all died. We didn't stop and we killed everyone.
You're going to kill everyone?
Yes.
Do you agree with your friend? Do you agree that all Palestinians...
Yes. Dead. Palestine.
Hello?
Oh my God. I don't like you.
You don't like me?
No.
Where are you from?
Israel.
I'm from Palestine. It doesn't mean I don't like you. You know my TikTok?
Yes.
Do you follow me?
No. Because you love Palestine.
What's wrong with loving Palestine?
Because it's Palestine.
But I'm Palestinian. Does that mean I'm a
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Really? Do you want Palestinians in Gaza to die?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Oh my God. Hello.
Hi, I've been looking for you actually.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Israel.
I'm from Palestine.
I have a bunch of statements to tell you. If you came to Gaza, do you think with your opinions they would allow you in?
Well, not really, because there's a genocide happening and thousands are being killed.
It's not genocidal because for genocide you have to have genocidal intent.
Oh, and
There
they
is no
don't?
genocidal
And
intent.
they don't?
No.
You killed 10,000 kids.
10,000 terrorists that would grow out to be the next 10,000 kids that would grow out to be the next terrorists. That's what it is.
Really? You can say that about any kid in the whole entire world. So let's kill everyone. Let's kill everyone because there's a chance
You're
they're going to be a
really
terrorist.
angry. Let's take a breath.
Yeah, I think I would be pretty angry if you're going to call 10,000 kids terrorists, future terrorists. That's
Take
pretty
them
fucked up. You're justifying killing
Kill
10,000
them.
kids. I don't have time for this,
Agreed.
man. I have no energy for this right now.
Get those disgusting brow sticks. That's another thing you don't have energy for. So how about that? Okay, I'm just not going to go into that right now.
I can't even
Listen.
see you. Yes, you're making fun of my eyebrows, but Cindy, you're like, look at my side hair. And even if you were to show yourself, I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna personally attack you because that's childish and immature. Yo,
Free Israel.
from what?
Do you support what Hamas did?
Bro, almost said Hamza. What did they do?
You saw the.
No, I didn't.
Yes, I have a cousin. I have a cousin. What do you mean?
I also have a cousin, but I didn't see that.
You definitely saw that. You know exactly what happened on October 7th. You know they fucking burned a house alive.
How did they? I didn't see that either.
You guys are animals. You guys are fucking animal terrorists.
Palestinians are animals?
Bro, that's crazy. Look how you're dodging, bro. You can't answer me. Don't look at me, bro.
Answer what?
Answer.
Are you good? Are you good? You didn't even ask me a question. Are you good? Answer me. Are you okay? Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Good.
You love Israel, baby? No?
I don't support Israel.
Tell me. Blah, 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 blah. Tell me. Oh, bad. Na. Kiss my ass. Goodbye. Bitch. I kill you.
Yo, what was that, bro? They have a love-hate relationship with me. Like, they love me, they hate. I don't know. All I don't know. Hello?
Yo, you're from TikTok.
No, I'm from Palestine.
you. Only Israel.
I'm from Palestine, actually.
Israel. Hey.
Ah! Yeah. The truth comes out. The truth comes out. Hello.
Hello. I have you. You free Palestine.
Yeah, free Palestine.
No, we Israel, sir.
You guys are from Israel?
Yes, we're from Israel.
What do you think about Palestine?
We think that they are liars.
What about the Palestinian kids in Gaza?
The soldiers of Israel are the most gentle soldiers in the world.
You're joking, right? They killed 40,000 Palestinians in the past 9 months. They're the most gentle soldiers. You know, Israel killed thousands of Palestinians in 1948.
1948, no. Yes, because they are anti-Zionist, just like you.
Yeah, I am anti-Zionist.
Yes, because you don't know the fucking truth. They are brainwashing.
Should I die because I'm anti-Zionist? You just said that they were killed because they're anti-Zionist. They displaced 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. They killed over 40,000 Palestinians, 70% of which are women and children. It's been relentless bombardment for the past 9 months in Gaza. And you don't want to hear it because it's the truth, unfortunately. Hi.
Shut up. You are Palestinian?
Yeah, I'm Palestinian.
Yeah, you go to hell.
Are you from Israel?
Yeah, of course.
You don't like me because I'm Palestinian?
Yeah.
Should I die because I'm Palestinian?
And kids, Palestinian children.
What? Do you want me to die because I'm Palestinian?
Yeah.
Do you want all Palestinian children to die? Kids. You want babies, Palestinian babies. You want them to die?
Hello.
Hi.
Can I talk with you? You're telling lies about Israel. Don't skip. I want to talk with you. I just have to tell you that everything is about free Palestine is all fake. You have this necklace?
That's
right?
Palestine, yeah.
This is Israel.
This is Palestine.
Israel.
Well, you can call it occupied.
Israel.
Do you want to talk or? So this is occupied Palestine.
No. Why are you lying? You all the time telling lies and then people support you. For what? For nothing.
I mean, what am I lying about? I'm confused.
We didn't occupy nothing. What a you you been you Palestinian you only Israel because this is our land. We never take nobody land. Okay. Bye.
Hi. Whoa.
I saw your TikToks. Why are you spreading lies?
What lies am I spreading?
You literally from America. You don't have a say in this. This is a war between Israel and Hamas. You don't have a say.
I'm Palestinian.
But you live in America.
Because I was displaced. My family was displaced.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay? My family was displaced. Hello.
Guys, we're going to finish this conversation, please. We are not speaking with anti-Semitic people, okay?
I'm not anti-Semitic.
Yes, you are. And you are against the Jews because they are Jews.
Why are you lying to your kids?
No matter what we are going to say, no matter, you're going to be against us and to be on the Hamas side.
Why are you lying to your kids?
Read the facts and read the history as it is.
Okay, I did.
You can support us, or you can be against us. But if you are against us, it's because you are Jews.
I'm against the 10,000 Palestinians that were killed in Gaza in the past month. 10,000 Palestinians were bombed.
You know why? Why?
So I figure I'll stop it there. I mean, you guys can. I got probably about halfway through this, and I hadn't finished it yet. But it just gets more and more depraved, and even some of the people where they start off and they seem like they're going to try to have a reasonable conversation, and then it just goes way off the rails. I mean, one of the guys in here said, like, when you guys, it's like, yeah, you guys did live here before, and when you guys took us into slavery, and it's like, in what history did that ever even happen? Not even biblically. Like, let's say, for instance, if you try to say that the Philistines go back to, I'm blanking on them right. The Palestinians go back to the Philistines. The Philistines did not hold the Israelites in slavery. So even that, under giving the most benefit of the doubt on the argument, that's not even correct. And it's just like the level of propaganda and just lack of knowing history or any of these things. It mind boggles me how much like the average Israeli is clueless about so much and so brainwashed and loud and proudly wrong. Like I mentioned about Trump earlier in the show, it's the same kind of intensity of like, and I don't know if maybe if people have always kind of been like this, or we're moving into a new stage where more people, no matter how ignorant they are to something, the more louder and prouder they are. I mean, I used to remember a time period, and I miss this time period where I felt like people who they felt like, well, I know what I know, what I don't know, I don't know, and they left the possibility of I could be wrong on some things. But it's like a new age of nobody's wrong about anything, and they're 1,000% sure everything they're saying is factual. And even when they're faced with contradictions, they still will throw it out. Like for instance, you have some people in this very same video that will say, we never did anything, we never harmed, killed anybody, not a single person, no babies. And then 2 people later, a person will like, yes, we did this to all your babies, and yes, ha ha ha, and they're laughing about it. And it's like, how you guys are all in this same community. You just heard your guy over here admit to what happened, and you're still going to tell this other person, no, that's not what happened. And that's the reason why I heard somebody use this term. I'm gonna probably start using it more often. Rev 29, and I'll let y'all decode that. Some people might understand that. I'll say Rev 29, Rev 39. For people who understand that, you understand it, and for people who don't, you know, do a little research into the last book of the Bible, chapter 2 verse 9 and chapter 3 verse 9, because what it tells me is some of these people know exactly what they're saying, and they know that they're just lying. They know that they're lying. And I used to wonder for a long period of time how much of these people are completely just brainwashed and how many of these people know and are just liars. And I'm starting to believe we're more in a society now where more people know that they're lying. They just lie. And shout out, I see while the video started playing, I see Rick hopped into the building, and I see Willie, our brother Willie Bragg, is in the building also. Welcome, fellas. I'm glad to see you. And I wanted to push back on I saw that Chamonix had said this before about I guess, and honestly, you'll get corrected by some people if you call them Israelites. They will tell you, no, there's a difference between, for one, an Israeli is an inhabitant of the nation of Israel. An Israelite traces back to the ancient Israelites. Do I believe that majority of these people trace back to? No, I don't. Some maybe do, but I would say that most of these people do not trace back to the original nation of Israel. So therefore, I will never use the term of calling them Israelites. In fact, in the Jewish Encyclopedia, it tells you that it is improper to call an Israeli an Israelite. So if that was something, because I'm like, the Jewish Encyclopedia said that, not me. In fact, even if you just look it up, to just type it into Google, the Google will correct you by calling Israeli an Israelite. So I want to say, yes, it is definitely a cult. It is definitely a cult. Sure see a lot of. Well, I noticed also what kind of blew my mind more than anything is many of these people, which you see in there, I guarantee you probably ethnically are Palestinians. Probably a good chunk of them. Or what they would call Mizrahi, which basically means coming from Egypt. Some of these people were people who were in the land, who've been in that area, and have been converted on to the Israeli type of thinking. And like somebody brought up about the black girl in there. To me, this is like seeing a Candace Owens or I don't know, was it Coleman Hughes or any of these other people, or Herschel Walker? This is those people that they're doing anything to get into the house. And the crazy part about it is, even in Israel, it's known that they have really bad race issues and they treat black Israelis even worse. So it's, I don't know, the level of, we call it, I guess, shucking and jiving. Yeah, I don't know. It's, yes, they definitely are not, Yonina. So definitely go and check out the rest of this video. I mean, if you ever start feeling like, oh, well, maybe we're giving, the populace of Israel like a bad name, and maybe it's not widespread support of what's going on in there. Look at the polls that you see, internal polls in Israel. These people are I mean, there's so much information that's not given to them and hidden from them. So some of this they do come by for real, like they're just not seeing this. They're not seeing this, or they've been told it's all fake. And because of this belief system and this victimhood status that they have been told their whole life, the whole entire world hates them. So, and it's easy for them to buy into the concept that everything, the whole world is a conspiracy against them. And so when you deal with that deep level of cultism and, that deep level of cultism, it allows you to suspend reality and live in your own world and start to create your own world. And I would believe that it leads to deeper psychosis that many of these people have. And that ties on to the next subject that I wanted to bring up. Let me drop this down for a moment. And let's see, let's minimize that and go back to, where was it? And in fact, one of the girls was even crazier. She starts off heavy on this hate-filled rant and then turns around and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I actually love you, and you're so great and you're so wonderful." Wait a minute, is this the one? I think this is the one. Let me share my screen again. I think this is the girl. I just saw it before I was about to click out. This girl right here shows that's. I'm like, I don't know how much of this is performative for some of these people, how much of them believe it, how much of them are just lying. I don't know. It's hard for me to gauge. I do know that I don't think some of these people take this as real. But here's one girl.
What the? I hate you very much. You don't know the history of Palestine. You search in Google. You into and you say free Palestine. No, free Israel.
Free Israel from what?
You liar.
Free Israel from what?
From Israel.
What the f does that even mean?
I support peace, but I don't support Palestine.
So how do you support peace? That makes no sense.
So how much followers do you have?
7 million.
Good. Good job. How old are you?
I'm 20.
20? 20? Okay. So I love you. I love you. I'm sorry that I scream at you. I love you very much, and I love you so much.
What is happening, bro? The true colors are coming out. Okay. What the fuck? What just happened? I'm a celebrity in Israel.
You see that? That's the reason why after seeing that one, I don't know. I don't even know some of these people, like what their reality is. I don't even know. She starts off the most hate-filled rant and then jumps into "I love you" at the very end. See what I said about like deep psychosis that's going on in that nation? I mean, and when when all the smoke gets cleared and numbers start being really tallied up and the outside world starts to see more and more of this, I think there's going to be a lot of people who struggle to try to deal with what they've been, like co-signing to. Wesley, what's up, my brother? I think a lot of people are going to have a real problem explaining how they didn't call this out sooner. And I think that a lot of the media is going to lose massive credibility, even more than they already have. That's the reason why some people will bring up, oh, well, if this person was IDF, it doesn't matter if they're IDF or not if they think like this, because thinking like this is just as bad as actually being the one to pull the trigger. In fact, honestly, I would say it's almost even worse. It's one thing if you're scared and you fire on people, innocent people, because you should never be in a situation where you have a gun and out there. That's one thing. Because I don't believe everybody in the IDF is really, these genocidal maniacs. I believe there's a certain amount of them which are scared, brainwashed kids. Some of them are doing it against their will, because I've seen some people even mention it. It's various different degrees going on within that. Even people who volunteer for it. Some of those people get out there and realize, oh crap, what the hell did I sign up for? I understand that, because I was that person who signed up for something that didn't know what the hell. I was like, damn, I did not know this is what we were doing. And sometimes it takes going through all that crap to understand the reality, especially when you're in a highly propagandized country. Now, the ones which I don't have as much sympathy for is the ones who leave from Israel, go to the UK, go to Europe, come to America. You have the ability to see all of this crap. You have the ability to see the truth, but you choose to ignore all of it because you support the propaganda. Not only do you support the propaganda, you support the overall project, and you're willing to go with the ends justify the means, or, you know what, they did stuff to my people, so I don't give a crap about what happens to them. A form of evilness within these people, lack of humanity within some of these people. Let's see, what are we saying in the chat? Yes, I do know within that population, schizophrenia does run rampant. So some of it definitely performative in the way they have to show their loyalty to Israel and outdo each other so that they can so they aren't shunned, not going hard enough for Israel. I think that's a big part of it, and that's what I think it is with a lot of these young people. But what happens when it gets from trying to outshow other people to the propaganda starting to actually take and hold, that's where things get messy and dangerous. When you start going down that slippery slope of starting to buy into the bullshit. Hasbro has been encouraging their society and is clearly damaging their critical thinking when the society condones lying to justify greater Israel. Exactly. That's what I believe is going on. I believe that some of them do know what's going on, and they do know that they're lying. They do know that, you know what, if this was done to me, I would have reacted the same way. But yet they don't allow for the other side to be able to do the behaviors they do. And it also goes into, once you start reading into the Talmud and how the Talmud is set up, when it tells you that you are this, God loves you and screw everybody else, it allows you to believe that you can do whatever you want to other people and it doesn't matter because they don't matter. It allows you to go into some very, very dark places and start to think some very, very dark things. whether that was somebody who harmed you or harms you, because within the Hebrew Israelite community, there are some people who have some dark ways of thinking and viewpoints, and it has to do with stuff that was done to us and us maybe now, or done to our ancestors in the past. And it allows them to believe that, you know what, my hate-filled thoughts are justified. Now, I believe that when, and this is, you know, my faith beliefs, you guys don't have to accept or whatever, do whatever you want with it. The people who are interested, take that for what you want, whether that's for entertainment or if you just want to get a viewpoint on me. I feel like when the powers that be above, when the Most High decides and puts a verdict down, we'll all know at that point. If you believe there is no God, then there's nothing to worry about. But at the point when that's put down and things are decided how it's going to go, that's how it's going to go. It's not for us as human beings to try to decipher what actions we need to take against other people and to decide who's who and who's what. So that's just what I'll say there. I'll leave it at that. Marcus, I really enjoy your analysis. They're very coherent and impartial. I appreciate that. Thank you. I try my best to step outside of how I may view or think about something and try to look at it from everybody else's perspectives. And I've always asked myself, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, because I've been able to look at people who are very, very twisted and understand their perspective, not necessarily condone it. I'm not saying I condoned it, but for instance, like Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein gassed a bunch of his enemies. But if people were trying to kill me and I had to continuously worry about them overthrowing my government and killing my whole family, how would I react in that situation? Would I imprison them? Would I expel them? Because if you imprison them, you got to worry about them escaping or somebody helping them escape. And then those same consequences coming about and you being cooed and all those things happening anyway. Or if you expel them, do they go and get help and team up with other enemies of yours to come back and get you at a later date? Those are things I feel like, you know, you have to ponder all those. And it's easy for people to Monday morning quarterback somebody in the time period without having the full information or being in the situation. And I say that on many things. Some of the population there could feel like no matter what we do, we might be stuck with a situation where they're going to come back and do something to us again without maybe having the full context of what the government did to allow this. Or whether it's not the government allowed this through negligence. Could the government have allowed this or even propagated this so that they could do what they've done since October 7th? And I don't know if the people within Israel are thinking about that. I think, well, I know most of them probably aren't. I think many of them are running on emotion. The same way a lot of people did after 9/11. Now, even though I was active duty in the military and I felt sad for the people who happened in New York, I never, ever, ever jumped to that, we need to go get them, vengeance. I never jumped to that mentality. And I know a lot of people did, and it took them a while to get past that and see the reality of what was going on and see false flags and different things like that. Some people are more emotional, some people are more analytical. And I just feel like until this population gets out of that post 9/11 mentality of anger and rage, and I've seen that people within that community have ability to have a very, very long feeling of holding on to hate and rage and anger and revenge. I mean, hell, the Holocaust has been over God knows how long, and we still have to keep having a Holocaust movie every 5 minutes. I mean, at what point do we have to stop doing that? I think you've exhausted every possible movie idea and explanation and revenge porn that you can get out of this. I don't think there's anything I don't think there's a movie out there that does not that's not been put out that's going to show any new perspective on the Holocaust. But yet Hollywood has no problem every couple of years with putting millions and millions and millions more to rehashing the same shit over and over and over. I get it, a trauma happened to you. I get that. But maybe at some point, just go get some therapy. You don't need to keep rehashing your trauma through the same repeated movies over and over. How about let's tell some stories about stuff that's not being told? But sorry, that's my movie commentary on that, on all the World War II movies. So tired of them. I get so tired of them. And also some of them, I feel that they serve a different propaganda, like that latest one that came out with Henry Cavill. Though I like Henry Cavill, though I would have wanted to watch it more than likely, I refused to watch it because I realized that movie was put out to elicit that sympathy, to get people to feel what the IDF and what Israel's doing is justified. They're trying to play. I feel people are trying to play on emotion, and I'm not for falling for that BS. Let's see, Ruby. Hey, Ruby's in the building. Little Moon says, "Well, the Jewish community is fucked. I know a few that say they don't support either side. I don't even know white people are that racist in 2025. I was unaware, honestly. I think it also depends on the circles that we're in. You might be fortunate enough to be around a mixed, diverse social group of people who don't hold those racist beliefs. And especially in New York, and New York's a lot better on some of that stuff, especially in certain social groups. I know in certain parts of New York, you will see the complete opposite. And I've lived in certain areas where I feel it's dangerous if you start trying to live in the society where racism is not an issue. I mean, I remember I was doing armored truck and I was helping one of our branches, our Pensacola branch, who did routes into Alabama. And I'll never forget, I was very nervous about driving around Alabama, especially at night. And even though I'm in an armored truck, I'm still a little bit, my nerves are on edge. And then we start getting to certain areas and I'm seeing all the same shops and stores that I saw in most of the cities, which I was familiar with. And it just looked like a normal old American city. And I saw, instead of just, in fact, some of the stuff was even more updated and more modern in the area that I lived in Jacksonville. And then I saw a electronic billboard and it said, "God knows who hung," I can't remember the kid's name, but "God knows who hung whoever. And we need to stop this and get behind these racially motivated lynchings. If you have information and can share who hung blah, blah, blah on this date, please reach out to this tip." And I'm like, oh, wow, they are still lynching and hanging Black people in Alabama. I can't let my guard down at all in this place. And it's like, it's so easy to, because something might be out of sight, it might be out of mind, or just because something is covered up by local cops and sheriffs, we might feel like that's not a reality we have to worry about. But you slip up in the wrong areas and it can be, a death sentence for you if you're not careful on some of these things. Let's see. Wesley says, I feel sorry for Jews that have had their religion co-opted by Zionists and have to resist all this evil in their name. And the sad thing about it, Wesley, that's been going on since the 1800s. And I believe that Zionists, even during the Holocaust, intentionally set up some of their people for, for that fate to push forward this whole Zionist project. Because when it comes down to what the Holocaust means a burnt sacrifice. Who sacrifices something? A person sacrifices something for a gain. So what would Adolf's people be sacrificing that they're gaining by taking out other people? How would that be a sacrifice for them? That's not a sacrifice for them. So that would mean, through my understanding of logistics and words, that somebody else has to be sacrificing something for a gain. Now, if I see a certain community where a lot of their people are taken off this earth, and in the end, money is granted, land is granted, a status increase is granted, that to me sounds like more like a sacrifice, because you sacrifice for something. If you sacrifice all your kids' parties for working longer, then that can contribute to pay raises and increases up the social economic ladder. That is a sacrifice. You lost something to gain something. Plenty of athletes will spend hours practicing their craft instead of going out partying so that they can get further in that craft. That is a sacrifice. Typically, when something is sacrificed, you give away something to gain something. It's transactional. So therefore, I have to ask, who gave what and for what gain? I'll leave it at that. Yeah, Mafia is still going on. Mafia has just moved a lot of their businesses to the legal side and intertwined them so much with legal, it's hard to tell what from what. Traveling in East Texas when the restaurant starts spelling country with a K, turn around. Oh, yeah, I do know. I got family who live in Texas. Yes, Rondo, what he said. Actually, I just thought about it. I never tried to click these now that I put it on the side. I wonder if you can click them still the same. Oh, it still works the same. Oh, duh. I need to start doing this when I'm reading these comments. Racism operates in the society is way more insidious and counterintuitive. An example: Boston, Massachusetts is the most racist city in the whole of the United States. I remember I heard like a racist joke that they said that people in Boston say, and he was like, "Bro, don't you just hate Mondays?" And he was like, "Okay, yeah, everybody hates. Well, okay, Mondays, I don't get it." And he said, "Yeah, they call black people Mondays." And he was like, "Yeah, they call black people Mondays because nobody likes Monday." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty jacked up." But yeah, it's more hidden. It's just like a lot of people felt like that racism and some of the stuff that happened during, segregation and Jim Crow and all that was concentrated to the South. That's the reason why I feel like people in, say, California, they chide their finger, or even New York, modern day, they chide their finger at the South and not realize that, no, they were treating people like crap too. They were doing a lot of this horrible stuff. You may just not have learned of it. I would argue that we go back further than the year 2000. I mean, I can show you stuff going back to the Schofield Bible when that started to infiltrate Christianity and started to push. That's how you have more of these evangelical Zionists. And most of that goes back even further, I would say. I mean, we could go back probably close to I'd say probably at least about 80 years. And we can go back for a lot further than, you know, the year 2000. It's just now we've seen it hit a certain level where now it's so pervasive, it's hard to see anywhere else. But it's definitely been with us for quite some time. Well, you say you heard that joke in East Texas too. Well, I mean, it shows racism is not exclusive to the North or the South. It all spreads around. So with the whole Zionist thing and everything, I felt like we should transition that into another video. Let's see where I put that one. And I would say one of the other big stories that's been kind of going on. So let's find it real quick. And I want to share this. I don't know why I didn't send this to myself so that I would have this up to be able to show. My apologies. But typically I would find these videos and already have them ready. But I know where it is. I just got to dig a little bit through my history to find it. Is that the one? I think that one was the one. Okay. So let's see. Click this. So let's share my screen. So from the propaganda in Israel and the idea that pervades the most, you know, crazy Zionists, let's move on to two more, what do I want to say, you know, I don't want to use that phrase. Let's just say the most squeaky clean on the surface of people that you could use. Squeaky clean.
More details are emerging in the deadly shooting outside Washington's Capitol Jewish Museum, where Israeli embassy staffers Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky were killed Wednesday night after leaving a Young Diplomats event. Investigators alleging in court documents that surveillance cameras captured Elias Rodriguez walking past the victims before pulling a gun from his waistband and firing several shots. The documents say Rodriguez then stood over them, appearing to reload and firing several more rounds before tossing the gun and going into the museum.
I go up to him and I say, "Are you okay?" And he goes, like, call the police, I'm okay.
Paige Siegel attended the event and says she became suspicious and continued to question Rodriguez before he became agitated and grabbed his backpack as police approached.
He's screaming, "Free Palestine, free Palestine."
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I start screaming, "Get him out, get him out." And I'm like screaming to the police, like, check his bag, check his bag.
Investigators have interviewed Rodriguez and say they're still piecing together his life, trying to talk to people who knew him. Back at the museum, a growing memorial outside to honor the shooting victims. A close friend remembering Sarah as being full of joy and compassion.
These were two beautiful souls that worked for peace and that worked to build our community day in and day out. And so to have them being taken away from us in this horrific manner, it just makes no sense.
Yaron and Sarah had planned to travel to Israel on Sunday. He was going to introduce her to his family and was planning to propose marriage. Instead, his remains were returned to Israel yesterday. His family held a small memorial service and a private burial. Peter, Kaylee?
Two beautiful lives cut short. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you.
So we hear the story. That is the narrative that we're being told. Now, I did hear somebody say, we need to make sure that we mention that he was IDF. Okay, that's out of the way. He was IDF. For me, I don't really give a shit. I don't care if we mention he was IDF or not, because he still supported what was going on in there and he was pushing for it. So I don't care if he picked up a gun or not. He still is guilty and culpable for what happened over there. and he still supported what was going on over there. So I don't care how they try to whitewash it and make it into now. That said, that doesn't mean that I condone his actions. I don't condone nor condemn. People's actions are their actions. It's not for me to do either. Who am I in the grand scheme of things? Whether I condone or condemn it, so what? It doesn't. I have no connection to him. I don't know him. I don't know them. And if I condoned it or condemned it, what does it matter in the grand scheme of things? It doesn't. What is weird to me, though, is they say that he was trying to get into the building. And he didn't. He waited for them to come out. I guess it was 4 people who came out. And he fired on them. It's kind of weird how they explain it. That he supposedly, I'm not assuming that he did anything. I can't assume anything. On situations like this, I'll put it to this. And somebody could get upset with me for even putting it out this way. In this current reality, the way things move, I can't be certain that he did what was said. I can't be certain that this wasn't set up by somebody to take out these 2 in particular for other reasons and blame it on that he's a crazy Palestinian advocate. I can't say that this wasn't COINTELPRO, where this guy was an infiltrator into the movements to try to make him a plausible shooter. I can't say, for instance, that I even believe necessarily that these young people are even gone. I don't accept anything yet unless I leave everything open to possibility. That these people were all agents and this was all a cosplay that was put up. That they know that, okay, this 2 young couple are going to go away back to Israel and we're not going to ever see them. Keep them off the camera. I don't know. I'm not saying that they didn't happen. I'm not saying that he didn't take their lives. I'm not saying that this wasn't one person who did a lone act who said, you know what, I see what's going over there. It's atrocious. I get that the organizations I've aligned myself would not agree and not condone to what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because you have lone wolves. You have people say, you know what, I don't give a damn. We've been doing all this peaceful protesting, but you know what, I'm ready to see one of them get it. I'm ready to see blood. I don't rule that out either. I don't rule anything out. For me, everything is on the table. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Everything is on the table. But let's say, for instance, just going off of what the official narrative is, that he waited and he did this. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't smell right. It seems like there are things that are being left out of this. And like I went to before, remember what I said about what Holocaust means? Burnt sacrifice. What is the Hannibal Directive? I just look at their possibility that there are factors and things and levels of 3-degree, 4-degree, 5-degree, 30-degree chess that we don't know that's going on. How do I know that this guy wasn't in league with them and these people decided for the cause, we're willing to be the sacrifice. We're willing to be the martyr for the cause. I don't know. I don't know any of this. So I don't jump to any of the conclusions and automatically accept any narrative because I don't believe, for one, I don't trust the media. I don't trust police officers. I don't trust any kind of Israeli ambassador staff. None of them people. So when I'm dealing with multiple parties of people that I do not trust, how could I draw a definitive narrative from any of them? Because I don't see who's a reliable source in any of this. Everybody has a narrative to win from this. You have the people who talk about the spread of anti-Semitism, but yet you haven't been able to produce physical bodies for people to say, you know what? I see what you guys are talking about. It is getting more dangerous out here. So now the people who said that that's a cause, now they could say, see, look, we have these two people and look what just happened with them. Even though you can bring up the fact the Jewish guy who attacked the other Jewish Arabs, there wasn't this big fear of, oh, well, look what's happening to them. They didn't really care about bringing them up. But these people get this, attention. Now, granted, maybe it could have been because the guys didn't die, that they didn't get enough smoke or heat. But also look at right now, you have the Gaza plan that's being pushed, where the Israelis are really just about to go full bore. The amount of violence is ramped up tremendously, and it's getting far less coverage. They're even sweeping into the West Bank. I wouldn't be surprised if, it just gets to a certain level where I mean a level that we haven't even thought about it getting to, or it can be where you see half of the population gone. Like I know I brought up that Chinese lady who talked about China's lying about their population and it's actually half the size. Well, what if in this case we actually do see half the size go away for real? That could be a possibility, because since Trump is so transactional, I don't put anything past him. I believe he will let every single one of them go if it can make him more money. Just like I think that he wouldn't have any problem with massive parts of this massive parts of the population of this country being taken off of this planet if he can make more money. I really don't think he'd give a damn that he cares about money that much. Oh, bad. Uncle Warren is in the building. What's up, Uncle Warren? It's good to see you, brother. Says trust is at a premium these days. It definitely is. I don't trust anything out there. I mean, speaking of that and tying more things together, a quick side note before we hop back in, sidebar. You had Cash Patel with Dan Bongino talk about how we saw the stuff and all the whole Epstein stuff. Yeah, he took himself out. Nothing to see here. I don't buy that either. I think that they're all hiding stuff and they're all lying about stuff. And Rondo says, I presume PSYOP out the gate when it comes to situations like this. I mean, just like going back to what I was saying. So you have the people who were talking about violence and anti-Semitism. It gives them a narrative. It gives Israel a little bit of cover because they got a lot of bad press, especially firing at those EU officials who went to visit Gaza. That got them a lot of heat. Also with Netanyahu's plan, which is getting a lot of people pretty concerned and saying, yo, maybe we need to look at really reeling back things. Like I heard them talking about possibly cutting some trade deals and different things like that. And as money starts affecting, the Israelis and the Israeli government, that's one of the few things that can actually stop them from doing what they're doing. If the spigot gets cut off. And right now, with these two young people who, on the surface, look like, oh, they were just this wholesome Jewish couple, and with what's being put out there, this narrative, whether this is the case or whether this is a byproduct of it, I can see how this could be used as an attempt to build, some form of emotional tie and appeals to people to be more sympathetic to the Zionist cause. So I don't know what it is. I'm not saying what it is, for a fact. I just know that even if the official narrative is what they say it is, I don't trust it. Something's being left out. And I worry that it's more nefarious than we think. I don't know who this kid is, where the hell he came from, and why he wouldn't think that what he's doing is damaging his movement more than anything. This could be used also for crackdowns. I heard Sabby mention this. This could be used for massive crackdowns. This could be the purpose. Although my mindset and my understanding and looking and viewing these situations is when these powers that be do things, they don't do them for one reason. These things are done for multiple reasons, multiple effects. There's multiple appeals that you're going to do before you go to a level of doing something like this. And you're not doing it for just one thing. Whether what we believe you did is what you did or not. No. Ethnically, Rondo, ethnically, they are Jewish. They are Jewish. They're just Jewish Christians. That's another thing. Jewish Christians. Yeah, I honestly feel like this is. It just seems a little too perfect, Vic. Like, it seems like they're. And the fact of that these are the people that he so happened to. I don't know. It just, to me, smells fishy. Smells fishy. So I'll leave that story there, and others can go on to more of what they think may be going on from there. I did want to do an update that I forgot to bring up earlier. Let's see. Let me just type this in. Where's she? Where'd it go? So, I guess not. No, there was more. That's not the one I wanted. I guess, no, that's not the one. I'll play that one. Let's see. Pause. Let's see. Let me share this with you. So changing gears from that stuff. Let's go here.
Another arrest of an accomplice. We'll have more of that tonight at 10. Meanwhile, more than 100 law enforcement officers are searching for the 5 inmates that are still on the run and now a week out from the jailbreak. Eleanor Tabone did some digging and she shares more on what we learned about these men.
I gotta admit, by the way, that's kind of a dope kind of combination she got there. I like the tie with the shirt. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, I remember him from a baby.
Like any other child, Derek Groves was an innocent, wide-eyed kid with the world ahead of him.
He was friends with my son. He taught my son how to ride a bike.
But somewhere along the way, that innocence turned to blood. He's accused in 4 killings and convicted on 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of manslaughter. Gail Slack says she helped raise the 27-year-old on Alabo Street in the lower 9th Ward.
I just hope that if they catch him, they don't hurt him.
Groves and 4 others are still on the run after breaking out of the Orleans Parish Jail. Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams is scared. He says not of what Groves did, but of what he might do next.
2 of the lawyers who I tried that case with, who successfully went forward, able to get a conviction on that case. These lawyers got out of town this weekend with their families out of fear of retribution.
Antoine Massey doesn't belong on an ankle monitor. Antoine Massey doesn't belong on the first floor of an unsupervised pod.
According to documents WWL Louisiana got, investigators say 33-year-old Sterling Williams, a jail maintenance worker, is facing charges after he confessed to helping the inmates escape. The documents say he acted under the orders from escaped inmate Antoine Massey, who allegedly threatened to shank him if he refused, though Williams' attorney denies that account. Matt Dennis with Assured Supervision Accountability Program, or ASAP, an electronic monitoring company, says Massey has been escaping for years, dating back to 2007.
In November of 2023, Antoine Massey was ordered into our ankle monitor program, and he was placed on ankle monitor. And 2 very short hours later, he cut his ankle monitor off.
Also, among the escapees still on the run is 26-year-old Linton Van Buren. He's accused of second-degree murder. Then there's 31-year-old Leo Tate, wanted on multiple gun and drug charges as well as burglary. The oldest of the group, 42-year-old Jermaine Donald, is awaiting trial for a second-degree murder charge. I asked LSP if the search for the inmates is limited to Louisiana or it's nationwide. They could not confirm whether the search has moved beyond the state, but they did say they're working with all local, state and federal partners and using all available resources to track down the fugitives. Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
And just moments ago, we learned.
I wonder why they didn't put the other story in there. Oh, let's see here. Show this.
Turn now to the latest on the Louisiana jailbreak. 5 of the 10 escapees are still on the run as 2 more people have been arrested for helping them. Faith Abube is in New Orleans with the story. Good morning, Faith.
Yeah, good morning to you, George. Only one of the inmates, authorities are accusing these women of either contacting before or helping after they escaped this jail, has now been recaptured. There are 2 others who are part of that group still unaccounted for.
This morning, 2 women arrested in New Orleans, accused of helping some of the inmates who escaped a local jail nearly a week ago. Courtney Harris allegedly transporting 2 of the fugitives to multiple locations, and Cavante Baptiste charged with helping 19-year-old Corey Boyd get food before his arrest at his grandmother's house.
If you help them, you will be prosecuted.
5 suspects still unaccounted for after 10 inmates crawled through a hole behind a toilet in a cell and escaped the Orleans Parish Jail last Friday. A jail plumber, Sterling Williams, arrested for shutting off water to the toilet. His attorney calling allegations that his client helped the inmates ridiculous, telling ABC News the day before the escape, a deputy verbally asked Williams to shut off the water because the fixture was clogged.
The man did his job and unfortunately was used by these escapees and is now being sacrificed by the sheriff.
And Michael, even though that arrest warrant also says that an inmate threatened Sterling.
So that's what I wanted to share, the update that now you have multiple people who are facing charges for assisting with the escape attempt. Or well, not attempt, with the escape. To me, it's kind of weird. I don't know if this is a situation of art imitating life, or maybe the idea came from the show, or maybe the show was just ahead of its time with knowing that is one of the weak points in Escape. I don't know if they did the research and figuring that stuff out, but the show Prison Break, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen it yet, then mentioning how they get out this one part is a minor detail. They actually go through one of the cells in the back of the toilet. That's how they get out. Well, there's more to it than that, but that's what gets them out of the cell after lockdown. And in the show, they did receive additional help to be able to get them out of the facility. And the crazy part is, I don't remember exactly how many of them from Prison Break who got out on the show, but many of them had cases like, I mean, none of these, a lot of these people are second-degree murder and, you know, some first-degree murder charges, and definitely worse sentences, and definitely it seems like harder criminals than that show. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me. And Prison Break was one of my favorite shows. I definitely put that in like my top 5 all-time shows that I watched. And it's just, this always caught my attention because it's kind of crazy. The fact that 5 of them are still on the loose. I wonder how long that'll go, and you know, before they can catch them. But it shows like if you even a little bit of help, that can be the end of your future. So I just wanted to do a heads up on that one. Let's see what else did I had like 2 more stories I need to get into. Where did I put that? So I guess we'll go into Trump's bill. Well, I guess I'll probably try to speed this up so we could be out of here roughly around, probably head out of here around 3 o'clock. Let's share this. So I saw a pretty good video that showcased some of the things about this Trump's tax bill that I wanted to share with you all. So let's put this on the screen. Tax bill, there it is.
Hey there, glad you're here. President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill has officially passed through the House, and now it's not just a headline or a political talking point, especially if you're living on fixed income, receiving Social Security, or just trying to keep up with your bills. This is the kind of bill that could actually change how you file your taxes, how much help you get from programs like Medicare and SNAP, and even what happens at the doctor's office. Now, here's something you might not have heard. If you're a senior making under $75,000 a year, you could be eligible for a brand new $4,000 deduction. That's real money that could ease the pressure come tax time. But it doesn't stop there, and not all the changes are so easy to celebrate. So stay with me, because what's in this bill could affect your wallet, your health coverage, and the way public services show up in your daily life. And before we go on, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Are you currently receiving Social Security or Medicare? Are you concerned about how these new changes might affect you or someone you care about? Let's talk about it. And if you find this kind of breakdown helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future updates. So let's start with one of the biggest headlines from this new law, taxes. If you remember the Trump tax cuts from 2017, this new bill makes those cuts permanent. That means the lower corporate tax rates are sticking around. But it also adds some new tax breaks that a lot of people weren't expecting. For example, tips are no longer taxed. Same goes for overtime pay and even the interest you pay on car loans, if the car was made in the US. That last part's important. And if you're a senior on a limited income, there's now an additional $4,000 standard deduction if you make less than $75,000 a year. That's per person. Married couples filing jointly could get double that. So if you're someone who's been paying taxes on a modest retirement income, this might actually help. Now, I know some of you have been asking, what about the promise to stop taxing Social Security benefits? Well, that didn't happen. Instead, this deduction is being offered as a kind of compromise. It doesn't fully remove taxes on your benefits, but it softens the blow a bit, especially if your income is on the lower side. And that said, not everyone is feeling the same relief. According to the Congressional Budget Office, wealthier Americans are expected to gain more over time from this bill. In fact, the top 10% of earners will see their resources increase by about 4% by the year 2027. But folks at the bottom could actually lose out, some by as much as 4% by 2033. And here's where things get more complicated. To make room for all these tax cuts, estimated to cost around $3.8 trillion over the next decade, Congress is cutting spending somewhere else. And a big chunk of that is coming from programs like Medicaid, SNAP, and yes, Medicare too. Let's take Medicaid first. This bill introduces new work requirements. If you're a childless adult on Medicaid, You'll need to prove that you work at least 80 hours a month or risk losing coverage. And that starts as early as 2026. States are also now allowed to add co-payments and even kick people off if they don't finish the right paperwork on time. So what does that look like in real life? Well, one estimate says nearly 9 million people could lose their Medicaid coverage. That includes some folks with disabilities or chronic conditions who may not qualify for exemptions. The argument from Republican lawmakers is that this encourages people to work and helps prevent fraud. But critics say it's punishing people who are already struggling, especially those with limited access to jobs or technology to keep up with all the forms. And then there's SNAP or food stamps. The bill extends work requirements to more.
I had to pause that because I was like, really? You had to take a single black mom? I mean, what was that about? But yes, I know the bill has not passed. They haven't put it up to the Senate yet. Their goal is for it to go through reconciliation and all that and try to have it passed before July 4th. They just wanted to get the House bill passed before Memorial Day weekend. So it still does have to go through the Senate before this is all official. But I just want us to kind of be aware of some of the things that we do have we do have to worry about and what's in this phase of the bill so far.
For adults, including parents with kids as young as 7. States are also being told they will need to start paying more of the cost for SNAP benefits. That's a pretty major shift since SNAP has always been mostly federally funded. So what does that mean for you or your community? If you live in a lower income area or a rural state with fewer resources, these changes could make it harder to qualify or maintain benefits. And with food prices still high, this has a real impact on.
And what he's saying there, I mean, I get it to keep the video short. He didn't really dig in on that. But by them putting it back to the states, that means that more than likely it's going to leave more states not being able to have the money to be able to handle it within their budget. It's going to be more people denying you from the states. So that's a way they can say that, hey, well, we didn't take it from you. The state did that. And they're handing it off for a state that they're not going to have the funding to be able to give you those benefits. So they're going to cut more people off those benefits. The same thing with some of the work requirement things. They're going to put pauses in money going to you to get the information back from you that, hey, I am working this amount. And so if there is any kind of problems or hiccups, you can have to sit there and jump through a whole lot more hoops to get everything situated. So there might be the possibility that you might not get it for a month. You might not get it for 2 months. And you might have to fight back and forth with that. And there's going to be a whole lot of people who are going to have to fight back and forth with whether it's SNAP, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, and then even on the situation of Medicare, all of those, this is what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to more bureaucracy and make it a lot harder for you to necessarily get whatever assistance that you may need.
On people's ability to keep groceries in the fridge. Now, let's talk about Medicare next. So, Medicare isn't being restructured from the ground up, but automatic cuts are on the horizon. About $500 billion could be trimmed from Medicare due to deficit loss. That's not a direct cut in your monthly check, but it could affect things like hospital reimbursements, prescription coverage, and long-term care. If you're a senior who relies on Medicare Advantage or who has high drug costs, you could start to see some of those changes ripple through your care. Some experts warn that this could create a two-tier system where wealthier patients can still afford top care, while lower-income seniors face more red tape or longer wait times. The White House insists that core benefits remain protected, and the new tax deduction should offset some of the costs. But elder advocates are worried. And honestly, I think it's fair to say there's still a lot of uncertainty here. And speaking of uncertainty, the bill also rolls back parts of President Biden's climate law. Subsidies for things like electric cars and energy-efficient appliances are being phased out. If you're planning on upgrading your home or buying a cleaner car, you might want to double-check what credits still apply. Now, let's shift to something that's getting less attention in the mainstream coverage, but is a huge part of the bill: immigration and border enforcement. This law dedicates nearly $175 billion to to immigration enforcement, with $45 billion for detention facilities and $50 billion to restart construction on the southern border wall. That's on top of plans to hire 10,000 new border agents. Also, asylum applications are going to get more expensive and court fees are rising. Immigration advocacy groups say this could make it harder for people in crisis to get the help they need. Meanwhile, the administration says this is about restoring order and national security. This is one of those parts of the bill that really highlights how divided public opinion can be. Some see it as a necessary step, while others see it as an unnecessary hardship. Now here's something that's been raising eyebrows in legal circles. The bill limits federal courts from enforcing certain types of rulings, like temporary restraining orders. This change could reduce the ability of judges to block controversial executive actions. It might sound technical, but it has real implications for civil rights, immigration rulings, and environmental laws. Critics call it an attack on judicial independence. Supporters say it's about keeping unelected judges from stopping the will of the voters. Either way, it's a change that's going to have long-term effects. And here's the final piece. The debt ceiling has been raised by $4 trillion. That's the cap on how much money the government can borrow. It had to be done to keep the country from defaulting, but it's sparked criticism, especially from those worried about the growing national debt. Some lawmakers are calling it fiscal hypocrisy, saying we're spending money we don't have to fund tax cuts that benefit the rich. Others argue it's a necessary step to keep the economy stable and follow through on campaign promises. So what does this all mean for you? Well, if you're a senior on a fixed income, the extra deduction might help, but rising costs for healthcare could offset that. If you rely on Medicaid or SNAP, you may face stricter rules or lose coverage altogether. And if you're younger and trying to plan ahead, the long-term debt and healthcare cuts could reshape what retirement or government support looks like when you get older. It's a complicated bill. Some will gain from it. Others might struggle more. And most of us will feel it one way or another, whether through our taxes, healthcare, or just the way public programs work. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you worried about your benefits? Do you think the bill goes too far or not far enough? I read every comment, and your experiences help shape the kind of content.
All right, so he did a very good video there. But what I did want to bring in, well, and you need not have to respond. You said it failed. 5 senators voted against the bill with the Democrats. They have not proposed this in the Senate yet to vote on. They talked about ones who may oppose it, but they're waiting to propose they haven't voted on the House just proposed it and then they went on recess. They're on Memorial Day recess. They're not voting on anything. Now, some people are told that they might hold up the vote and they might want to do this, but this bill is a long way from dead. And more than likely, what is it? What was his name? Ron Johnson. He says that more than likely he'll have the votes for this. So it's not failed or dead or any of that. This bill is still, it'll get, exactly. This bill will get a secret 2 a.m. vote. They'll they'll change a couple of little things. This bill will get put through. I just don't know what they'll have to change on it, but there's something also that I heard about some of the store owners. Some of the grocery store owners have complained that this bill is going to have a massive effect on a lot of businesses because a certain percentage of their business comes from people who are on SNAP. If these people are not getting these SNAP benefits, then the stores are going to have a drop in business. And either way, it looks like every policy which Trump is doing is set to send us in recession one way or another. Almost as if, now, I don't think that this is his goal. Like some people say, it's the planned demolition of America. I don't think that's what it is. By you guys saying that this is the planned demolition, it's giving credit to these people as if they're smart. is if they know what they're doing. Get that out of your head. These people are not smart. They do not know what they're doing. Because before, you used to just have like the figurehead who would get up and he would claim what he wanted to do. And he would have this whole team of people around him who are running the numbers, and they're trying this and that doesn't work, and then switching south. You don't have that anymore. You got ideologues who are throwing out whatever they want to do with none of their so-called experts and analysis around them who are telling them, hey, we probably shouldn't do it this way. If we're going to do it this way. They're not doing that anymore. They're just going. And that's what it is. It's not like, oh, well, there's somebody way up here who's thought of, if he does that, then this is going to trigger this to do that. No, it's not that. It's not like the beginning scene of Back to the Future where the little ball hits that thing and it swings around and hits something else and dominoes. That's not what's going on here. It's not what's going on here. You're giving these people way too much credit. These are people who do not know what the hell they are doing. And they are going to tame things. And because powers that be above them are going to benefit one way or the other, they don't give a damn. The people who are smart enough to know what's coming, who have money, they're like, well, I know most of these people are idiots and don't see what's going to happen. So I'm going to short sell off of that. I'm going to make money. And when that collapses, I'm going to buy this. That's how they're moving and operating. It's not that they've coordinated to let this all fall for some, great, strategy that's going on. It's not strategy. These are people who are cash grabbing, and they're doing a cash grab while the money is there. They're thinking about the right now. They're not thinking about later, and that's what's going on. So that's my thoughts on that. I got to share this one video with y'all. I mean, as you guys already know, on to the next subject that we haven't talked about yet. Diddy was back in court recently. And of course, we know about the Kid Cudi, that he tried to blow up Kid Cudi's car, allegedly. So that was testimony there. But there's been some other stuff that I was just like, let me share this, because when I saw the screenshot of what was said there, I mean, not the screenshot, but what was said in there, one of the witnesses of where's it at? One of the witnesses. Oh shoot, I wanted to share that one too. I forgot about it. I'll probably share that in a minute. But what they were saying about where'd it go? One of the witnesses' testimony. That's what I was talking about. Witness testimony. And the way certain things were described in there, I was like, I just got to share this with the audience and let them hear it for themselves, because the shit sounded crazy. Now, I still don't know exactly what's going to be the resolve of this whole Diddy situation. There it is. Hold on. Let me click that, pause it. Sorry, pause that one there. And then there was, let me see, I think it was Teal who sent me this other one that I want to share with y'all. Yeah, there we go. And so this is something that DJ Vlad had said, surprisingly, of all people, DJ Vlad to be somebody who would make the commentary which he made here. It says, so I'll start at the beginning. It says, and because I've heard like people who I follow, who I really do admire, I admire their content. I like their takes a lot of time, preaching ABBA. ABBA is certain that Diddy is done. I've heard a bunch of people say that Diddy is done also. So this is a take from somebody who is on the other perspective, because ABBA says, all you people who think this is just domestic violence, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. And I wanted to share this because DJ Vlad has been involved in stuff that he said on this platform that has led to some people actually facing RICO charges and going down for those RICOs. So when he makes this commentary, I'm like, well, you've seen enough people you've been involved with and what's happened with them. So I think this person, as a countervailing source, could be somebody who they can weigh on and might have some weight in what they're saying. Now, how I feel about DJ Vlad as a person and what he does is a whole different story. But I just wanted to share this so we have another perspective from the people who are certain that Diddy is going away basically for life. DJ Vlad says, I'm going to repeat what I've been saying since before the Diddy trial started. This is a domestic abuse case, not a RICO or sex trafficking case. And domestic abuse isn't even a charge. I have yet to see a witness who was trafficked. The male prostitutes didn't seem like they were being forced when they got paid to F. Cassie. I'm pretty sure they would have done it for free once they found out it was her. I have yet to see the criminal enterprise on which the RICO charge is based on. Last I checked, Diddy's enterprises were legitimate businesses, not criminal fronts. This whole case seems like a ploy by 5 female prosecutors to publicly humiliate Diddy because they are mad at how he treated a fellow woman. And as if we want to be fair, Cassie should be getting the same prostitution and sex trafficking charges as Diddy, but instead got immunity along with $20 million from Diddy and $10 million from Intercontinental Hotel. When the dust settles, she will be the real winner of this case. That, end quote, that is what DJ Vlad had to say. In which, in all honesty, the way that they're trying to make this a RICO and all this, it's very paper thin in my eyes. Okay, a rich billionaire buys a bunch of stuff for parties. And I look at it like this. You're not going to find none of the rich parties where there's not a lot of drugs, there's not a lot of alcohol, a lot of all this crap going on. I do not buy it. I do not buy you're going to find any of these multi-millionaire billionaires who are not partying with all these things in there. To try to make them as some kind of drug trafficking ring is a stretch. Because he gave a guy a ticket and the guy willingly hopped on the plane to fly to go do this as trafficking, that's a stretch. I don't get that. And I don't think that the jury is going to buy into it either. Though I get it. If you want to go on a technicality, yeah. Is Diddy a piece of shit? Yes. Is he horrible? Is he horrible towards women and beating on women and all that? Yes. I've said the only thing that I think you're going to actually, if you can get Diddy on the fact of attempted murder of Kid Cudi, then yeah. If you trace that, okay, yeah, he did blow up the car, but he knew that he wasn't in there, then you're down to just destruction of property. I'm seeing charges and I'm seeing possibility of time, but I'm not seeing this like major, like, going away for 30 years of life. I'm not seeing that. That's not adding up to me. That's funny, Chuck. But this video I wanted to share just because of some of the Diddy stuff is like just wild as far as the entertainment aspect of it. And I want to share this video, just part of it, of one of the testimonies of one of the sex workers. And so she's reading like parts of the transcript. So, and of course, it's a paraphrase form of the transcript. So here, we can start here.
Guys, you cannot film in federal court, okay, in the Southern District of New York. Now, on top of that, this is coming from Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press. He covers all the big cases going on at the Southern District of New York. I always like to point out one of the most high-profile cases that he did was Ghislaine Maxwell, but he's done a lot of people, okay?
And this is another point she brought up about it, Ghislaine Maxwell. If this is trafficking the same way, then I don't get why Cassie is not being put in the same shoes as a Ghislaine Maxwell, because she trafficked these men also. If she set this stuff up, she would be just culpable. By the way, when it talked about the 5 women who are leading this case, one famed name that should be mentioned in there, James Comey's daughter is one of the lead attorneys. So part of me seems like, is this not to build her profile to eventually make her into the next head of something and possibly a Democratic administration, head of the FBI, something like, I don't know, leave it there.
So what he does is these are transcripts, are not the full exact testimony, but what he's able to transcribe as the questions are coming out and the answers. Some of it is shorthand. Some people are like, it's not shorthand. It is shorthand. Okay. He's like just writing short, like versions of what is being said. Sometimes he gets the full thing, but not the whole thing. But this is why I do my recaps, which I just did one, and that should be coming out right after this video. So that will give you more details, like all the different things that maybe weren't mentioned, or it just expands upon what was said in this. But with that, we're going to be entering right back in after they did a lunch break. So on the stand is Sheree Hayes. Once again, Sheree Hayes is a male escort known as the Punisher, and he testified this morning, and this is continuing. There were a couple people that testified, but I did a morning transcript already, so you're going to have to check out that video, which will be linked on the screen at the end of this one. So we're jumping back into this male escort's testimony, and he is still on direct examination by the prosecution, the government. We're back. How were these sessions? Let me see if I can make it a little bigger before we do. Usually I like it because I want you guys to see it. How did the direction work? Mr. Combs might say, sit forward, move the camera, or what would happen sexually? You know, one time during sex, he dropped a stack of money. He said, I like this ish. That sounds like Diddy too. How much baby oil did you use? A lot. We were supposed to be glistening as much as possible. How long would they last? For hours. But there was a lot of waiting, maybe 40 minutes or so. I was supposed to finish in a specific spot. Then what? She would leave with Mr. Combs 10 or 15 minutes. She'd return in a bathrobe and pay me $2,000 or $1,200 cash. Did you think Miss Ventura was enjoying herself? Objection sustained. Did you use drugs? I am not a marijuana smoker, but I did pull a Bill Clinton. I was handed a joint. Bill Clinton now name. We had Obama earlier. Guys, this case is wild. Did you have performance issues? Having the woman's partner there? Yes. Did the issues affect your pay? Objection overruled. I wasn't sure how they calculated it. One time, Mr. Combs threw condoms on the couch next to us. I struggled. It was a failure. What happened? They went out. I finished. She came back and thanked me for privacy. What did you think would happen next? I was worried I would not be used again. I hadn't done my job. He has said, I want you to F her. And I couldn't. Are you writing a book? Yes. Self-help book about my ED. It's advice. And in your book, do you write about your time with Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura? Yes. I call them a married wealthy couple. How long is it? 6 pages out of 186. I sensationalize it. I wanted it to be enjoyable with highs and lows. I want to give a clarification. Oh, no, they're going to talk about it. Never mind. So no further questions. Mr. Donaldson. So Mr. Donaldson is one of Diddy's defense attorneys. I'll try to make this as harmless as possible. Congratulations on your book. What's it called? In Search of Freezer Meat. What's harder than that? Good title. Oh my gosh. An erectile dysfunction book called, wait. I'm going to get it right. In Search of Freezer Meat. What's harder than that? You have a website? Yes. Now I am a co-owner. All the male dancers are independent contractors. You've been doing this for 25 years, 30 years, coming up.
Yo, I just had to stop that. In Search of Freezer Meat. What's harder than that? Oh, Lord. This Diddy trial is wild. I'm telling you. When they do like court TV, like after the thing and like make a movie of this shit, this is going to be wild. This dude literally named his book about erectile dysfunction in search of freezer meat. What's harder than that? Yeah, I just wanted to end off with something a little bit funny. I mean, at least it's funny to me. I mean, but yeah, seeing Diddy roll up with, with some money. Yeah, I like that shit. Like, this is wild. This is wild. It shows that Diddy was on some wild shit. And then if you listen even to the some of the phone call stuff back and forth, even after like Cassie had left, Cassie was like emailing, writing him, talking about how I miss you and this and that. And so I don't know, man. I don't know what happens with this case. I honestly think that Diddy pissed off the wrong person, and they gave the green light for Comey's daughter to drag the hell out of him to help boost her profile and eventually make her into the next attorney general, or who knows what position is, what position is going to be set up for this woman through her father's success. Because you know how this, what is it, nepotism and cronyism works. I always got to promote somebody up, and one of the best ways is come get you a black celebrity to go make a fool of and send to prison. So that's all I have. Again, I appreciate all y'all for hopping in here. Appreciate everybody for your likes. Hopefully you guys did give a like to the show. Hopefully if you really like the show, you shared it, you mentioned it to somebody, let them know to come check out the show. I will be nailing down a definitive time for the show. And I'm going to be working on getting more people, more guests and stuff to come through. I've also thought about the possibility, especially when football season come back around, I already know that I'm probably be moving back to Saturday nights. So I want to hear real quick, how many of you guys, I guess you can put in the comments, what time slot do you guys like better? Do you like Saturdays? Do you like Sundays? Do you like it earlier in the day, later in the day? Just give me some of that feedback, whether you do it that through the live stream, whether you drop it in the comments later, whether you DM me, whether you email me. I don't care which way you contact me. I just kind of want to get some feedback so I can figure out what is the best time that works for most people. I think Saturday nights it seems like it works a little bit better for more people. So yeah, y'all just let me know. Again, appreciate all y'all for coming through. And hopefully y'all have that's right, Memorial Day. Tomorrow's Saturday nights and Sundays in the early afternoon is good. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. So I'll try to make sure that on Sundays I'm doing it as early as possible for me, because I know my early morning out here is some people's afternoon. And I mean, that makes sense. I remember my cousin telling me he would watch the replay or watch Saturday's show on Sunday morning. And so that's what I'll probably try to do, push it earlier and just make earlier time my regular time and go from there. Yeah, that said, I'm going to end it here. I appreciate everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. And I will see you guys again next week. If I don't drop a video, I might drop some kind of video, a shorter video later on in the week. But that said, this has been the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Young Morpheus Cage, and y'all have a great week. Be safe on your holiday tomorrow. Make sure you guys enjoy it if you do get the time off. Oh, by the way, I possibly might be on AM Wake Up tomorrow. Whenever I have a Monday off, I do enjoy going to go chop it up with Steve. So y'all might see me over there if y'all watch AM Wake Up bright and early. And that's it. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can.